so welcome to another edition of Short Track Radio. Our guest today is Rocky Horne, former track announcer out at Western Speedway, and for a short time a Thundercar driver, I believe.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Rocky, thanks for stopping by after work.
Well, glad to be here. You know, like I said to Cody when I got here, I listened to you guys on a couple of your podcasts. You know, I'm kind of older, so I don't really know what a podcast was until I kind of got involved and listened to your guys' stuff, and I really enjoy it. And I know Cody got on there with Smartwash, and things seem to be working pretty well for you guys.
It's been going good. And Cody, you have a new sponsor I think you want to plug. You might have bought something.
Yeah, so by the time this comes out, should be able to release the information, but we, myself, my wife, and another two business partners bought Todd Creek Cidery. So it's going to be Junction, Orchard, and Cidery. So if all goes well, we'll have some Junction, Orchard racing teams in the next couple of years. And I've already got the approval, not sure the dollar value yet, but got some approval for some race car sponsorship. So it should be cool. So yeah, so it's
really
Todd Creek, now becoming Junction.
So that's the logo.
No, this is the old product. So this is the company. So it's on Prospect Lake.
Yeah.
So it's Todd Creek, runs right through there. Fairly original name, Todd Creek on Todd Creek.
So you got to make it look good so it goes hand in hand with the Smartwash logo that
exactly.
you have on all the race cars.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's
That's
nice
good.
colors and
I'll
stuff.
be hitting you up for a new one now. You already gave me Smartwash. I got to get the other one.
Yeah, it's like never ending. Well, you know, as you know, owning cars and
Oh, I hear
sponsorships
ya.
and
Yep.
stuff, it never ends.
Yeah.
Now, we're looking at a photo of a guy, I believe it is Hall of Fame Induction back in 2016
It was.
that had an integral part in getting you up in the broadcast booth. But before that, you were working the cordless in the pit area for Reg Midgley, was that?
Yeah, I did that for like 2 or 3 years, but how I got involved in that was I did some drag racing stuff, and the involvement was that because I was into drag racing and hung around with a bunch of the guys that drag raced, and they asked me if I'd do it one day out of nowhere. But how that happened was I was involved with Shaw Cable. They did a personal interest story because I used to run or ride my bike to all my soccer games, no matter where they were. So whether it was Sandwich Peninsula or Duncan, I rode my bike or I ran because my dad was away working and my mom didn't drive, so I kind of had to do something. And then people saw me on the Shaw Cable deal, and they think automatically that you're going to be an announcer or something, which I never planned on doing. But and Reg Midgley came up to me one night when I was sitting in the stand with some other friends of mine, and he asked me if I'd do the cordless mic, and I was like, woo.
Yeah.
First of all, I know it doesn't bother you to be in front of people, but it bothers me. It's still to this day. I don't like it. I don't like being on camera. You guys would probably have to search far and wide to find pictures of me because I don't like it. Like I told you when I got here, even my mom said you got a face for radio. So, that's kind of what you should do. I didn't want to be in front of anybody. So it was really intimidating to me, and I was the totem travel, pay less gas, race so bingo guy.
So you said you didn't remember any stories, but you remember your first...
Well, it's kind of hard to forget
first job,
that.
yeah.
When my wife Candy, we weren't even married then. We were going together in high school, and we'd be Christmas shopping at Woodgrove Mall in Nanaimo, and little kids would come running up to me and say, "Hey, you're the Race-O Bingo man," and I'd be like, I was like 19 or 20 years old, and I'm like, whoa, this is probably not what I really want to be too famous for. But I remember little kids around. The Haslam kids used to come up to me and they wanted their bingo numbers rattled off, and Rocky called B11 or the Bowers kids. So I saw a lot of those guys, a lot of guys that raced.
So what was the Race-O Bingo? What was the promotion?
It was Totem Travel was the sponsor, which Dan Wade got involved with. Dan did the race tours, and you played bingo. So when you come in, you bought your program, and you got a bingo card in it. So, and if you we tell you what, it has to be diagonal line or a straight line or whatever. And you get a 2-liter bottle of, I think it was Coca-Cola then. We switched back to Coke and Pepsi so many times here. Whoever had the best program going on. Kind of like a Smartwash deal.
Yeah.
So, we did that. So you'd call out the numbers when you had a moment. There'd be a break in the action, a car accident or something. because back then we didn't really go into the pits a whole pile. Not until like I started working with Butch. He went out to the accident and made a report from the track then. But we call out numbers and people would just freak. They'd freak out. I'd be like, "Who wants B9?" And then people go nuts, and I go like, "I-42." They get all pissed off at you. But and Reg would be every once in a while he'd say, "Hey, you got to be careful because we only got 200 bottles of pop tonight," or whatever. And you'd go along, and there'd be nothing happening, and then all of a sudden, boom, N60. Everybody and his dog runs down there for their pop or whatever it was. But we did that the whole time I was with Reg, and it stopped when we went with Butch because right away we didn't have a cordless mic guy. Barry Rankin was the manager then. So, and it was actually B&D. A lot of people don't remember that. When Butch took over, it was Butch and Dan. So it was Butch, Ben, and Dan Wade. It was B&D Productions. So, and I'd already known the Wades. So that's kind of another way that I got in there too. So, Butch wasn't going on the microphone. Dan wasn't going on the microphone. Barry was pretty busy most of the time. So, and there's lots of times like 85, 86, 87, I don't know what years there were, people say, "Hey, I heard a race and you weren't announcing, it was Barry." And I was like, "Well, Barry used to go up there when I had to go to the bathroom." Because not like we set everything up for you. You got it all easy, Cole. You got everything all set up for you. You had the palace up there. I didn't have the palace. I used to have to go down all the way, where the bathroom is.
Uphill
down
both
the
ways.
end there.
Yeah.
And when you're snarfing down, free pop and all that
Drink
crap
after
all
drink
night
after
long, because you have to drink. You know that. You got to have something to drink, whether it's water or pop or whatever. You have to have a drink, and you'd have to go all the way to the bathroom. Well, every once in a while, Rankin wasn't around. So if it was an IMCA modified race, which was pretty easy to call because back then it was follow the leader.
Yeah.
So all I would do is I'd get the first 5 cars, and I'd go down to the bathroom with the cordless mic. We got to use the one by the concession down here. So I'd go to the bathroom, and while I was going to the bathroom, I'd call the races. So I'd just kind of make up some shit as we went along, right? I'd be like, Rob Scott going on the outside, blah, blah, blah. So people would never really notice. So, that was kind of fun to do that stuff then. But, that's kind of the original involvement of being an announcer, which you wanted to. I never wanted to. I never really had much interest in it. But then, when I started working for Reg, he give you like $15 and you get in the races for free, and then you get your wife and a couple of your friends in. So, it was a pretty good bonus back then because we were coming anyway. So,
would you come?
Really,
plan to come to track anyways?
You sent me a note the other night and said, how did you get involved in racing? In the 70s, my brother, who's 12 years older than I am, Robbie, he crewed for Neil Montgomery. So we lived on Souk Road across from Dairy Queen, which is not our house isn't even there anymore. And over on Ridley, which is not very far away, Bob Vantright used to live down at the end.
Right.
And Dave Dyer lived in the middle. Well, Neil had his car at Dave Dyer's house. So I used to go over to Dave Dyer's house, and we used to paint the tires. So the tires were nice, and so they looked good. If you had your brand new Goodyears or whatever, you'd rub the sidewall off of them. Well, we'd paint the tires black before they go, and the guy who lettered the car, and back then, that would be mid-70s, a couple years before you guys were born, they lettered all the cars by hand. There was no decals or crap like that.
Coolest looking
if you got a decal, you had I think we ran McCreer's or something back then, you would have a
small little bumper shit, yeah.
So the guy, Neil, was the guy who lettered it, and I used to help him letter the Canna Marine Installations logo and the 36 number, which we ran on the sprint car later on.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got involved in it. And then every once in a while, I babysat Trevor, Jeff, and Yvonne Montgomery.
Oh, there you go.
So that was in the 70s. They were just little kids then, and when I was like 12 or young teenager, then Trevor and Jeff and I, or whatever, we go down to Colwood School, not very far from our house, and we'd play soccer and all that stuff. So I always had a deep association with the Montgomerys, and that was through my brother.
Cool. Nice.
So that went down.
That's how it started.
Yeah.
All
And
right,
then later on, it became even closer than that, as you guys know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next photo here, we have the Hall of Fame induction photo.
I don't know who
but
that painting is of.
Cody
but-
wanted to bring up who is
They,
the photo.
Who's the guy in the photo there? Because it's your
So-
car, but
You guys obviously know who Gary Kershaw is.
Yeah.
Gary Kershaw wound up being a good friend of mine. I love the guy to pieces. He's probably one of my favorite people in auto racing, and he belongs to the Hall of Fame, one of the
yeah,
first
his little stalls.
inductees.
full
Oh yeah,
down
he's
there.
the guy. Yeah, you can't put anything up too high because you can't see it though. Little short guy. So he says to me, he says, Rock, I don't know who is doing the artwork, and I don't know who wrote your bio back then, but I'll pay for you to get another board. And the plan was all along, ever since it was done, to get another board.
Yeah.
Because my relatives don't even know that.
Yeah, I was like, I was scrolling through, and I'm like,
I'm a little happy
Jesus,
that
his number
there's
and
hair
stuff.
on there, though.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the
You know,
first part of the
because
lie. I thought
I'm glad PC's not around. Because PC and I talk.
he's
to
right there.
every
You
day.
probably hear him right
He
now.
loves to give me hair jokes. He does it all the time. He just hashes the crap out of me on Facebook, the bastard. So, and then him and I talked about when I started too, because I couldn't even remember, because he was in Regina and then came back out and then started working again, and he was like, I think it was 93 or 94 you were working for Reg, and I was like, yeah, it's probably somewhere around there. I lopped my fingers off when I was 19, and the first race I did, I had my hand bandaged up because I hadn't been out of the hospital for very long.
That was a motor. I just read.
No,
the
that was,
What'd you do? He stuck it somewhere.
I tripped. I was climbing up a ladder at a gas station I worked at, and it fell over, and my hand went into the air compressor belt and took my fingers off. I didn't even know I did it. I thought it was an electrical shock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you ever want to feel what an electrical shock is like, stick your hand in an air compressor belt where
Same.
I was going. So, and
That was 19. It happened.
I was 19,
Yeah.
so that would have been 1982 that happened. So I'd say probably 93 is when I started with Reg.
You're right-handed.
I'm ambidextrous, really, so it really didn't affect me.
Okay. Baseball
very
and something
much.
like.
I could do both.
Yeah.
I'm not not as good as my kids were, but
Say there's a couple taller kids that throw a little harder than
yeah, a
you
little
can.
bit. Yeah, a little bit harder than Dad. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and I always get whose kids are those. Yeah.
It's the old jokes.
Yeah.
And here's a photo here with LP, I believe. back
Larry
in the day.
Pollard, yeah, that looks, I'm going to say, from the look of my hair, that would be 1987 or 88. And not long, I think this was the first time he drove after his crash in Harry Gant's Grand National car, they were called then. And that was at
Dover, was it?
Dover, yeah.
I know every single time I'm like, I do research and I'm like,
How old are you?
I forget everything.
It was like
and so
38
he's
years
like,
before you were born.
he
Yeah,
pulls out
that-
stats out of everywhere.
I think it was Dover, and Butch set up a deal that Larry could come up and drive the car. And I met the Pollards when I was probably 15 or 16. And another one of the reasons I got into racing was Gary Madden. When I think I was 15 or 16, I bought a 1955 Chev two-door hardtop.
55 chef.
Yeah, and I was working at a body shop over by Langford School, Goldstream Collision. I was helping prep cars and stuff, and I had the car there, and I was looking for parts. Answered an ad in a newspaper, which you actually used to do back then. You don't go marketplace, bank. It's not that. You go into a newspaper and you'd read through and find the stuff. So I went over. I rode my bike because I was a big bike riding guy. I lived over there, and he lived off of Carlo or Costin, not far away from where I work now. And I met him, and then helped him with a 55 Chev convertible that he was finishing up. And then a couple years later, he moved over to Kelly Road, just around the corner from my house. And I went over and helped him work on cars. And Gary taught me lots about mechanics and paint, and how to make things. I'd be like, that don't look very good, Gary. And he's like, yeah, you never notice it from an airplane.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. But so I learned lots from him. That's how I met the Pollards. And when I was a kid, I used to ride my bike past Pollard Automotive, and I remember getting a flat tire and Earl helping me fix my tire. And the funny thing is, I work in that building today.
Oh, this
Pollard
one
Automotive.
on Dunford?
Yeah, on Dunford. It was Pollard Automotive, then it was Bart's Automotive, then it was Coast Environmental or something, their office, and then our shop. But Larry came, I don't know, 5 years ago and came and looked at the shop. So
that's when he ran the 200 that weekend.
This is when he came and looked at the shop.
Or his son, Chase ran it.
Yeah. This isn't then. This is this is when Harry came up to be the Grand Marshal of the 200.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
was that the one that
that was
Chase ran?
No, Chase ran it in 15 or 16.
Because I ran this one, so it would have been like 08, 09 kind of thing.
Yeah.
I still have my signed program from that actually.
Is that right? I was pretty excited because I'm a huge Harry Gant fan, and I think Jeff Montgomery's car is Harry Gant's number for some odd reason or another. So
weird how that happened.
That's how all that happened. So I was really.
You look pretty excited in that photo there.
I was
that's
pretty
a little
stoked. I got to tell you, and Hope Hunt, who you know very well.
Yes.
Hope is a Harry Gant fanatic.
Just slightly.
So she's in the grandstands. Well, I stopped everything and called Hope down. Right in the middle of the whole, I didn't give a shit what was happening.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Fire you?
It's like Ricky Gervais's last award ceremony. It's like, who gives a shit?
So I called Hopi down. She was all excited. You know, we got our pictures and all that stuff taken with Harry right there. So that was pretty cool. I even forgot Larry was there for a while. Every once in a while, you got to kind of
you got the shoulder like in front, and you're like,
you got to ask Larry a question. But
how many times you got an opportunity to?
I got to tell you, Larry
Larry
Pollard is the nicest, most modest man. You know, and the guy was crew chief for Richard Petty. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he's building rear ends for, you know, everybody down in the southeast there. The guy knows what he's doing, and we'll probably talk about it in a minute. But he drove my Thunder car, and he taught us more in an hour than I learned in 10 years.
Yeah. Wow.
It's crazy that some people just what they retain and
that was a fun day. I really enjoyed that. I don't really smile about a whole pile of things. I don't get really excited, but that looks like Guy Barrett's first sprint car win. And I'm a huge Guy Barrett fan.
Yeah.
I really like Guy. I called him he had a nickname for years. He hates it. So I don't want to say it because he'll listen to this. I guarantee he will.
Don't call him the hamster.
He'll be happy. What?
I didn't call. You called it.
I never did.
It was
no.
But see, I was a kid.
But it was fun. Your dad encouraged that stuff.
My dad would encourage anything that people didn't like.
So how my involvement came with these guys, Cole, is that I was pretty close with Terrible Terry Brown, which we changed to Downtown to mellow it out a little bit, and Laurie Michaud, who we used to call Porky, but we don't call Porky anymore. Laurie was doing the engines and stuff, and I worked at Grand Auto, so I was selling car parts and paint and all that stuff. And they had an engine problem, so I was like, well, I get a good deal on parts, so I'll provide a bunch of parts. And my truck was a pretty neat little truck, little GMC, and we used to call it GMC Rocks, which is kind of opposite to Rocks GMC. So we used to call it the GMC Rocks Alumar Canopies Pontiac Ventura. We had everything. We had hats, we had jackets, we had the whole 9 yards. So that's how I got involved with these guys, and probably how I got such a good connection with Guy. And that was the first race car I ever got to drive. Guy let me drive it. So that was.
Would you drive with his?
That was a lot of fun. That was the, what did they call them? Street stocks then.
Street stock.
Yeah. Which are stock cars. I mean, we went street stock car, Thunder car, stock car. I don't know why they change it all the time, but you know, it was a really good class. And Guy drove mini stocks before that, but I didn't announce them. And obviously an incredible go-kart racer. So
yeah, him and Johnny Sutton.
Yes.
When I started running go-karts.
Yes. So funny Johnny Sutton story, I'll tell you. So I have my first race car, and I let Randy Price drive it because I wasn't very good. So
these are delicious.
And then we built another car, and I let I can't remember who drove after that. But Johnny Sutton comes up to me, and I was just joking with him because I love him to pieces. And he goes, "Hey Rocky, how come you don't build me a race car?" And there's a whole pile of people around, and I just said, "Because I don't like you."
And then he probably didn't explain it after. He just let him walk away with that feeling.
Pretty well. He knew I was being a jerk. I talked to Johnny just a little while ago, and I told him, you know, all the fun that we had, and we were young, and I really liked his dad. His dad was a super good guy, and I really liked him. So
he had the coolest go-kart shit, like his helmet and the black and
Boy,
the yellow. It looked wicked, little 22.
He was one of the best in North America at the time, I think. I mean, I wasn't really too heavily involved in go-kart stuff, but I knew how good those guys were.
Yeah,
and
Bear Root, like he would go.
well, and you look
away.
at the guys that come from Victoria that race go-karts, including Daryl Midgley.
Yeah.
You know, you see pictures of Daryl Midgley when he was a kid racing go-karts, and you can just walk through the pits and pick out guys who race karts.
You got to be smooth. That's the biggest thing that I learned from it.
I
You gotta be smooth.
never drove one, so I got no idea.
No idea.
No.
Well, there's no suspension.
None at all.
They go quick.
Yeah, you know, they look pretty fast. We had a race one night where we ran the late models, and Roy Haslam and all those guys were running, and Johnny Sutton was overall fast time for the night.
Go-kart.
Yep.
Yeah, we ran at like
Holy smoly.
14. We ran the big
They
track.
were fast. People were just...
We were running
it was
17-second
jaw-dropping.
laps. Like you're 13, 14 years old, and they would do like it was awesome. I'd grown up, you do your little road course and stuff throughout, every week, do Cass City, whatever else, and then they had the big show maybe a couple times a year, and you ran the big track. And you're part of it, so a bunch of kids, and you're like all the big names are
Oh, it was
car
cool,
guys.
'cause
It
we
was
did it,
wicked.
We did it on a...
You were announcing.
We did it
It was
on
awesome.
a night when it was packed.
Mm-hmm.
So those
I flipped over one of
all
those
the
nights.
guys and the kids and everybody. They must have been on fire. Because I don't care who you are. I haven't been on the other side of the mic, but I know people love to hear their name.
Oh, it's
They totally dig it.
yeah, absolutely.
So and it was pretty cool to watch them go around there.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I really spent any amount of time to see them. And they just beat Roy Haslam and Jeff Robinson and all those guys. They weren't a tick faster. They were like 1500s to 210s faster. It was pretty impressive.
Kyle ran go kart once.
That was funny.
And Al Bland had to run down and.
Yeah, that was good.
That's
Yeah,
not
that
good.
other one with that other picture there, that was Guy Barrett at Saratoga. I worked at Saratoga every once in a while, and I did that after I quit Western Speedway. I went there a few times, and I enjoyed going up there.
Well, it was one of the biggest things, like the announcing. It makes the night for a lot of people. Like you knew everything about everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to know absolutely everything, but you can't be annoying. And that was the thing. Like Saratoga, it didn't seem like they knew as much about the other drivers and stuff. So when up there as a fan, you didn't get that connection. You didn't know, like they didn't know everyone. I'm not saying that the announcer was annoying. I'm just saying that he didn't really know all the nuances that you were able to, like during dead time, you were able to fill with either knowledge or a little background story about the driver, car, crew, and it really makes such a big difference. So I'm hopeful that they, with the new owners up there,
Rob Layton
and his wife, and they're really making a big difference up there, or their plans are. So hopefully get a good announcer.
Yeah,
maybe some come on retirement.
You're
You're not going to go up there? Come on.
None at all. The only way that I would have went up there was, and I think Guy and I, that was during an accident, and I think Guy and I were explaining how sprint cars work.
Right.
I think that's
probably
what was happening there. Like we explained to people how stagger works, and I think not long before this we had like a Coke cup on the ground to show you how stagger works and stuff like that.
There's people in the pits taking notes.
People really like that.
They
It was
have
fun.
no clue.
Well, I've been in cars all my life, so it's not like not many announcers at that time really had that kind of background. That
it's huge.
I didn't know much about announcing, but I knew lots about cars, and I wasn't. Other than being in front of people, I wasn't shy. I mean, I've known you guys. I've known you basically your whole life, so I mean, I'm not exactly a shy person, but but it's fun to do that stuff. This looks like 2010. I'm going to say that because that's the last time I had a goatee.
2010 was?
Yeah.
It seemed like that time.
I think that was around there. I had a mustache and a goatee for probably 15 or 20 years, and then I went, there's Corbin Thomas. That's also in 2010, I think.
Yeah.
Hence the goatee.
Yeah.
Dave Key car.
He just killed it that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we ran the 200 last year, which was the first time I really spent any amount of time at the racetrack, I knew he was going to win.
Yeah, he showed up late, right? I think he missed the first night or first practice night or something, and then rolled up and was...
We were parked. You were in the stands drinking.
Maybe.
So we had your car, and then we had the 21 car, and he was right beside us. That's when Romper was running the 55 Smart Wash Alpine GFL Special.
Professional. You're
There
professional.
you
Yeah.
There you go.
And,
$5 every time.
And I watch those guys. They're really quiet and modest people. And when we were running, I was keeping track of romps times and seeing where everybody else was. And I was like, the kid was out front. What's that kid's name?
Derek Krause.
Derek Krause. I had a feeling he was going to win the deal, but when he got out front, all the local guys know he's going to burn the tires off.
Yeah.
So talented kid, by the way.
Oh, unreal watching them go out.
And he's a nice kid.
Super nice.
Yeah.
Took time too. Like he's professional. Like kids came up and he was professional. He would take the time and talk to him. And
he linked up with friends on Facebook with lots of kid
really?
stuff.
Yeah, Brody.
Yeah, he's
Brody.
a nice kid.
Yeah, which is good. It's what you have to
I
do.
thought he was good. But that was his first 200, and then the last one was his second one. So that's why I threw that picture in there for you. That, and I really couldn't find very many pictures. So
I saw.
I don't even know where I got that from.
Facebook. This is pretty much in the right order you have for your Facebook.
I don't know where I got them from.
Yeah, I tried to find a bunch there too, and it was
You
pretty
can't-
much
you
it
can't
was the
find
same
pictures
photos.
of me. It don't
Searched
happen.
your name,
Is that
searched
one of the
everything.
Ken Keating snaps there from
I
back
think
in the day,
so.
maybe?
Yeah, this is when I worked I was still at Lejeune's at this time. Best job I ever had.
Lejeune, yeah.
Russ Lejeune, you guys have no idea what an incredibly talented, intelligent human being that man is.
Oh, it's
Bizarre.
shocking how
You know, I hear people use the word legend and legendary. He's a legendary car builder.
Yeah.
Well, some legendary car builders build 5 or 6 cars. Then there's legendary car builders who have 5 or 6 cars on the go at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did Russ build the Daffodil Cup car, the winningest one, he built Roy Smith's, some of Roy Smith's, what did they call them then? Yeah, Winston West type cars and all that. We built drag cars, street rods, and of course
a couple sprint cars.
I remember driving around the Northwest delivering cars, and that was the heyday. It was so much fun when we were doing sprint cars here. But we used to take the parts trailer to the track like we are there, and this is Ron Payne. He's got his back to us.
Yeah.
We always call Romper, who's a very good friend of mine, by the way, the one lap wonder. You know, OLW. that was always his deal. The one lap wonder, because man, he'd set fast time or he'd set track record, and some shit would happen to the poor guy. He had some.
If he didn't have bad luck, he'd have none at all. That guy. It was unreal.
Yeah, but you look back, he won a lot of races. He won modified.
A lot of modified, yeah.
Driving for Bart, and then he drove for Judy Ferry.
Yeah.
And he drove this car, which became Mark Stewart's car. He was incredible in that car.
And then in Bartley's cars, like he
drove lots of Bart's late models.
He's got the Elvis T-shirt on there, but
I saw today Caden Smith. He's on my Facebook too. He's like my nephew Bart's son. They got the Elvis modified.
Oh, okay, nice.
They got the pink and black, so I totally dig it. I like that.
I just can't believe it hasn't been a pink modified sooner.
Mm-hmm.
They had quite a few cool cars, awesome paint jobs. And
that was
stuff.
cool. And my son Kyle, he used to run the race car trailer when I was upstairs there, and he started doing that when he was like 15 years old. So
KH detailing. If you need some KH detailing, if you need something clean,
he sent a lot of big stuff to Smartwash when Smartwash started out.
Exactly. No, he's been great.
Yeah, he's good. You guys help each other out. There's Kyle when he's 5. He's just 5 right there.
Awesome. Is that the first Thunder car?
That's my first Thunder car. Right. Yeah. We built that in. I used to work at Auto Marine Electric, and I started building the car, and then it was owned by the Cooper family then. And he knew I was involved in racing and stuff, and I was like, I'm building a race car. And he goes, where is it? And I was like, it's over at my buddy's shop. And he goes, why don't you put it in the shop over there and build it? And that way you can just stay after work and do it. I was like, that's great. But, so we had Kenny Horne was on our crew, and Jim Laurie, and, I can't remember who else was on there. I don't know if Wayne Harrison was on here yet, Ching. But, we see who's on the left front.
I was like, how do you get any money from that family?
Paul Joel. I call him Dad. The Joels I've always been very close with the Joels. I went to school with Ricky when I was 13, so we went to high school together, basically, and that's how I got to know Nirmal, or Nim as we call them. And it was no problem. And Paul did a lot of stuff with Brown Septic Tank, who was the sponsor. And how I got that was Bill Gallagher. Yes, the same Bill Gallagher.
The same Bill, yeah.
Was racing Thunder cars, and he was really fast. He had a really fast car, but he was a dick. So, if you blocked him a couple times, you're getting it, man. They talked about the chrome horn, and he beat that son of a bitch more than anybody. So he got DQ'd, and they suspended him. And he didn't live very far from my house, and I used to go help him work on his car every once in a while. And I worked at Colwood Langford Auto Supply then, and he was coming in, and he was bitching and whining, because that's what Billy does really good. But he could build a pretty good motor at the time, and he's like, I gotta run, because John, who owned Brown Septic Tank at the time, he goes, John wants the car to run, you want to drive it? And I'm like, oh wait, I don't know if I want to do that. And he's like, okay, well, we'll go out on Thursday and we'll try the car out. And the car was fast, and I was remarkably pretty fast right away. We had 27 cars, and it was 100 lap of my first race. No, 75 laps.
That's a 75 laps first
race,
time.
75 laps. So I started, and I think it was George Wade running the pits then. And George is like, I don't care where you qualify, you're starting in the back. And I'm like, okay. And I had the cordless mic with me.
Nice.
I had the cordless mic in the car, so I kind of did the little yippee hopping, and then I got in the car, and we went out racing, and boy, there were some good guys in that class. I heard Tim Christie the other night when you guys were talking there. We had Kevin Lowe, Sean O'Hara, Lou Moline, Tim Christie.
What decent names.
Yeah, Mike DeMille.
Yeah.
Remember Mike?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought about him the other day when I was driving here. So, there, Jim Steen, all those guys were in the class. And there was lots of guys that there's probably a dozen cars that could win. So I started 27th, and I think I got up to 5th at one point. And then I think we were about lap 40 or something, and the belt blew off. The power steering belt blew off. And I don't think a little guy like you could.
No.
So you're fighting hydraulics is what happens. So when the belt comes off, you got all that fluid in the system, and you're pumping it through. You're running it through the gear. So I was pretty big. And it was still a little. I ran about 5 laps, and the yellow came out, and I came in, and Bill Gallagher, who's calm, what the are you doing? And I'm like, I think the power steering belt came off, and he just pulled one hood pin out, and he looked. And he slammed the hood down, and he's like, F it, get back out there. So I got back out, and I started in the back again, and I think I finished 7th or 9th. But I couldn't get out of the car.
Just dead tired.
Yeah, I couldn't get out.
It takes it out. You don't realize you're concentrating on it. You're like, this is tough, but then it wears on you.
It's different than just like if you drive a power steering car, you know what it feels like. If you would drive a manual steering car, it's much different.
Yeah.
But driving a power steering car with the belt off of it and trying to drive through traffic was bizarre.
It makes things slightly difficult for you.
But it was fun.
So I couldn't really get the timeline for cars here.
That's the next year.
There's going through a few here. So that looks like a Regal.
Yep.
So you had a Monte.
So that was the Monte Carlo. So I ran that year. And so we
Kyle with a mustache there, pretty much.
You think?
He squinted a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had the orange and white car at Joel's house. They got a big green barn out the back. You ever been to his dad's place?
Yep.
All the way down the end of the road. It's about 100 feet long inside. So, and we used to have the wall of shame. So that was all the body.
Broken parts.
So on one side we had body panels all prepped and ready to go.
Well, that's cheating, man. You can't do that.
That's what I'm like. And I learned that from Gary Madden, because I'll tell you, right after we talk about this, I'll tell you about a good Gary Madden story. So
awesome.
we had everything all ready to go, and I can't see very well out of my right eye, so I took a few right front fenders off of the car on the front stretch wall and shit. So, but Jim Laurie called it the wall of shame. So that was fine, and so we ran that car, and I didn't want to drive it anymore. it was too hard for me to do the announcing and still keep up. So Randy Price, that's who was on the crew.
Yeah.
So Randy, I said to Randy, do you want to drive? And he's like, yeah, I'll drive. So Randy drove the car after this race right here. So how this is the same car, the same year. It was white with orange accents. And then Jim Laurie phones me up and he says, hey, can you come over to my house? Well, we had the car at his body shop down on Dunford. And he also lived on Dunford. So I went over to his house and I got out of my truck and I was like, what's that smell? It smells like fresh paint. So he goes, look in the garage. The Pollards had asked if I would let Larry drive in an upcoming 100-lapper. Hey, Larry's coming up. Would it be okay if he drove your car? Well, duh, I'm not going to say no. Yeah, absolutely. That would be great. So I open up the door to the garage, and there's the car. And it's orange with white accents, like that. And I'm like, I really like it. And Jim's like not sensing that I'm really that excited about it. Don't you love it? Because I loved orange. But Brown's was white with a little bit of orange. That's why we did it the other way. And the owner didn't want me to do it like that. So I said to Jim, that's beautiful. I mean, if you look at the paint, it's a nice paint.
Yeah, you could like that.
It's nicer than most people have.
Yeah.
You know, and we're banging fenders with these things, right?
Yeah.
So I go to Jimmy, it's beautiful. I paid $1,000 to have it lettered. Oh shit, I never thought about that. So I had to go and pay to get it lettered.
Re-lettered again. Well, those are the other...
And then Lyle at Park Avenue Signs, who's AFAB Concepts now, who's, in my opinion, the best guy around for doing race cars. We put Larry Pollard on the roof in gold leaf. Because I like gold leaf. So we really did it up. And so we kind of... we had the one race paint scheme, like total freaking idiots everywhere. And then when we brought the car out with Larry, people are you stupid? Yeah, well, apparently we are, because we just spent $1,500 to make the car look different.
Yeah, nice and shiny.
Way to go, Jimmy.
Yeah.
But it was cool, but Larry really, really appreciated it, and he ran, he was right up front. I think he was running second at one point, and then somebody blew a transmission cooler or a radiator, and we got caught up in it in turn 3 and just ripped the front end. I thought we were done. I think there was, I can't remember, it might have been 40 laps to go or something. And they pulled in the pits, and Tim Christie's guys came over and brought a radiator and a bunch of parts, and I'm watching this from, I'm announcing, I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, here we go. So those guys, they got the car, you know how hot they are, and they had the tranny cooler. They put a tranny cooler in it, they put a radiator in it, and got Larry back out on the lead lap.
That's great. And that's the part, like Timmy was saying, he got a crash, and he's like, I don't know who was fixing what, but people come from everywhere. And it's like, you keep hearing these stories. It's so awesome that it doesn't matter what happens, the tracker's qualifying, there's always things, and then when something goes wrong, it's like, okay, let's all go help this guy, get him back, or girl, get it back on the track. And then it's back on again. Yeah, and it's like you want to beat the best.
The guys who you fight the hardest with are the first ones to come over and help you.
Yeah, Brian Clucci was one we'd always sort of pick close to, because him and his dad, super organized. So they have the power steering box all ready to go. They have this, they have that. So you as soon as you brake, you go over by Clucci and be like,
yeah, Gene's got
do you have any?
It's
all written on top and organized, and knows every part and everything else. So. Yeah, what a difference when you're organized.
Yeah, that was cool. So right after that, when we fixed it, we let Randy drive it. And then the next car is the white 21 car.
Where was
that? That one right there.
So that's different car than
another
Monty?
Car.
Oh, okay.
So we ran the other car, and then Randy's like, I kind of want to build my own car. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, that's fine. So I think it's hard to remember which one Bowers got. Bowers either got this one or the other one. I can't remember which car, but
Wade Bland got the other one. That was my car after.
That was the first. Wade won his first race in that car when he was 15.
Yeah.
So it was one of these two cars. I can't remember which one it was, but Randy. At that time we were running we're running.
Did you run door bars in yours? Because this, like, mine had them, so I'm wondering. Yeah.
I think
probably
yours was Randy's, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can't remember if we didn't have them on the other one. But
looks so much cooler without them.
Randy ran up front all the time. All the time. But couldn't get a win. He was Mark Martin. He finished second more times.
That was me. I did all the time.
And man, he was sucks. I mean, you guys, you had much time to talk to Randy?
Yeah, the last
Randy,
when he started running.
There's this cartoon, and it's called Sad Sack. And the guy would be like, "It'll never work." Well, that was Randy. He always had a monotone. Like, he could set track record, or he could get crashed and not finish the race, and it was absolutely the same monotone every time. So, you know, and we used to go down and interview the guys after the races, the top four. They'd finish out there, and I'd be like, "Hey, second man, good job." He'd be like, "First loser." That'd be the first thing he'd say. He'd be like, "Geez, first loser." And at that time, so we kind of had a switched up crew. We had Bob Exton and Jim Rankin. They were helping us out. That's where the Round Boys Race Shop, that's when it started. It's on the
Nice.
So we did that one at Jim Rankin's place up in Cobble Hill. And, you know, Randy'd be like, "You know, I need more power. I need more of this. I need more of that." Well, we changed camshafts so much. They look like stacked up like cordwood in Jim's shop. I'm like, we tried every camshaft on the planet.
And if you get it right, what a difference.
But he was really good. You know, Randy drove that car really well, and he drove street stocks before that. There's Randy before the cheeseburgers. Right there. There he is at the left front there, and that's Jim Laurie in the red, and Jeff Bodman in the red hat out the back there. He used to work at JB Precision Engines. Him and Larry were friends there, and I can't remember who the other guy is there, but yeah, that was I never raced it.
Alpine shirt there. Love the white pants.
There's Jerry Armstrong beside him.
Oh yeah, right there. You can see the hat and the
yeah. So yeah, that was some fun times. And then we went to the Buick. Randy wanted to do his deal, so Robbie, the white and blue. So when we went to the Buick,
70.
That one right there.
Yeah.
The 70 11.
Yeah.
So we ran 3 cars that year, and they were all painted the same. Not really, but they were close. So we had Robbie drove for me in this one. This was a brand new car. That's a Dale Robinson car, and Dale built the other one too, by the way.
Oh, your first one?
That was the first circle track car, basically, at A&A. Dale was kind of moonlighting at A&A, and he built that other car, and he built this one too. So I wanted a different car, and nobody had a Buick Regal, so we built this one, and Robbie drove it, and that was the cleanest car Rob Haslam ever drove. The deal was, you know, we call him Pigpen. Yeah. Everybody knows we call him Pigpen.
For a reason.
For a reason. You know, he'd come driving up, and there'd be a cloud of dust, and there'd be no dirt anywhere. So. But that was, and the deal was, you keep that car clean, because all my cars, I really wanted them to be immaculate. It's kind of what I was into. It all went back to when I was a little kid, going to the races with my brother, and I remember Gary Kershaw won one of the races I was at in his '69 Chevelle. I got to sit in it, and it was that yellow that he had, and the car was immaculate, and that kind of struck a note with me that that's the way that they should be, and I think I kind of emulated that in all my cars. I really wanted them to be nice, and actually when we built my first undercar, George Wade said, "You're ruining it. You're ruining
just because it's so nice." Yeah.
I was like, well, I wanted the car to be really nice, and this car was really nice, and it was really fast.
It causes everyone else to step up their game, though. If you're coming in, like it's like Bart did a couple times with the late model class. Guys are kind of running what they have around here, else, and then Bart gets a car, and you're like, holy shit, this thing is unreal. Yeah. And all of a sudden, everyone else starts upping their game and makes the class a lot better. It's sustainable, right? Like for stock cars, that's sustainable. You just keep it clean. If a fender's ripped off, you put a new fender on.
Well, I always felt it important that you look after your sponsors too, and that's something that I didn't have a lot of money, and I still don't have a lot of money because I've always been into cars. But I always had good sponsors. When guys were going out and getting sponsors for $200 or $300. Well, my sponsors were like $1,500, $2,500, $5,000. So I had some really good sponsors. So I was able to provide guys who drove for me with some good equipment, and we had expectations too. But we would do things like we'd buy our sponsors, we'd give them full crew stuff. They'd have hats, jackets, shirts, for them and their families. We'd buy them seasons passes to the Speedway. I got a little bit of a deal.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, so
they maybe won some program draws and
that's
stuff.
where the Red Ridgely Motors stuff always wound up on the cars, is because I did trade-offs. Okay, you guys can write off however many tickets you gave me or whatever. So that's how that worked out.
So you ran it a little more like a business.
I did
model in that sense.
Yeah.
I remember talking with Jason Frost when I first started going into racing, and he actually helped me out quite a bit sponsor, because I didn't know anything.
He's kind of a smart guy.
But he also taught me how to run it more like a business. And when you go to sponsors, he's like, hey, I'm a racer, so I know what to expect to get out of this deal, because if you want anyone else to help you, you're going to need to get your shit together, essentially. And it was like, get the proper proposals together, show them what they're going to see. And I was 15, 16 years old, right? So you don't see this, and you actually talk to someone that's running a restaurant, the Cake Steakhouse, and you're like, holy shit, this is an awesome restaurant. He's running this, and his late models and different things, tour cars he ran, they're at a certain next level. And it made a big difference seeing someone like that, like this car here. Another thing for Robbie, didn't really sit with Robbie and stay with Robbie of keep a nice clean car, but certain things stay with you, and you you learn from them, and it made a big difference getting someone that actually, you go after a $5,000 sponsor, like you said. You don't go after $50 sponsor.
It was unheard
and
of.
take up your quarter panel for $50. You go
guys
after the
were
big
really
guys.
like, holy, what are you doing? How did you do that?
Yeah.
Well,
you go after them, and you come prepared.
being the announcer didn't hurt either.
Didn't hurt either. He gives some extra
and
plugs.
I tried not to. And Robbie would have been in that car for a long time, but he broke his back that winter.
Yeah, I was talking to
So
Jeff
that's
actually saying
how
that Jeff got in. Yeah, and then Robbie didn't get back in though.
So it took Robbie a long time to recover from that.
Yeah.
I think they were tubing in the snow in Lake Cowichan or something, or I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know where they were, but tubing flipped off,
lucky.
hit a tree.
He at that time he probably wasn't too far away from getting paralyzed. So number one, he had to really look after himself, and you don't want to get into a situation where you're going to jar your body that way, because I mean you've crashed a race car before. I've crashed a race car before. It's amazing, what kind of G-forces you go from. Like even when you're going from 70 miles an hour to zero, that jars the shit out of you.
It's surprising.
We ran that car. Robbie did really well in that car. It almost cost me my marriage. So it was my 10th.
There's a car a couple ahead here that might have as well.
Wedding anniversary, and Candy wanted everybody's birthstones in a ring, so I went and I put down payment and I ordered a ring. Well, 4 days later the engine blew up. So, and then Robbie won I can't remember if he won the dash or he won the main event or whatever. But my wife was in the stands, and she's always been a good sport too, by the way. Love you, Candy. And I said, Robbie kind of gave me a poke about, we couldn't have done it if you didn't get the money back for the ring.
Oh no!
So that's the truth. That's
that
100% true. And a lot of people don't say enough good things about him, but if it wasn't for Gil Hauge, we wouldn't have even gone to the next race.
Yeah.
Because we blew up the engine on a Thursday, and he had a brand new engine ready to go Friday night.
Yeah.
So we picked it up Friday night, and I think Colin Cooper and I were up till like 2 o'clock in the morning putting it in. I remember Angie coming out at 1 o'clock. Angie Haslam, she's the greatest. She came out to the shop, and she brought us sandwiches and stuff like that, because you know what Angie's like.
Yeah.
Sandwiches and, asking us what to do and picking up tools off the floor. And Gil Hauge had just heads. He was a great guy.
He ruined my expectations of how long it takes to build an engine, because we
blew
blow up.
People.
Yeah, he blew up on a Thursday, like you said, and he's got it ready. You're like, so this just seems normal.
Well, he would be up all night.
Yeah.
Like Thursday.
And good motors, too.
Thursday night, we phoned him and told him that, okay, we're going to drop all the stuff we have off. So we took the blown up engine plus any other parts we had at the pig pen, and and took them over to him, and man, I got him some new parts that he needed on Friday morning, and he stayed up. And, you know, he phoned us. I was like 7 o'clock or something Friday night. He's like, "Come and get it." Yeah, bring pizza.
Brings pizza.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was good.
What was the Gary Madden story? Yeah.
Oh right, yeah.
Gary Madden. Oh, so anyways, you guys, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. Some of the older demo car stuff. There was a Mighty Mouse car. Well, Ray Bowen stole the Mighty Mouse from us.
Oh, okay.
So he ran number 9, and he got it from Gary and I. But so Gary's like, always be prepared, and he was. And Gary Madden was the best guy for the demo class ever. We used to go to the banquet. Guys would get like first place would get $1,500 cash, second place $1,200, $1,000, $800. Like, it was insane how much money they got. It was just bizarre. And Madden ran it for years. It was just incredible. But Gary and I built cars all the time. So we built, and we wanted to win Best Appearing Car, go figure. So we had a 74 Monte Carlo, 73, 74 Monte Carlo, and it was nice. It was bronze metallic, so, you know, we did it all up. We did 2 of them. So we had them lettered and ready to go. So we had one that we raced and one that nobody saw. It was behind the shop, behind his house over on Kelly Road there. It was underneath the tarp, so nobody even knew that we had it. Didn't have a roof sign on it or nothing. So that race that night, Gary flipped, and he flipped good. He was going down the backstretch, and I think it was Dave Cumberland or somebody like that, got into the right rear and turned him into the berm, where there's no berm there. There wasn't a berm then. Over in turn 3, and he went over and just destroyed the car. So right after the races, before anybody got to go anywhere, Gary had the car loaded up, and we took it home. And everybody go over to his house and have a couple pops. So before anybody got there, we had the engine in it and the roof sign on the other one. So we took the engine out. A couple people showed up and they helped us, you know, to play the gag, you know. And we had the other car out the back underneath the tarp, and we had the other car in the shop ready to go. And people were like, not just 10 people, like 100 people come over, and we open up the garage door, and there's a brand new car in there, and they're like, "What the hell happened? what did you guys do? What's going on?"
Fast workers.
Yeah, so that was cool. That was pretty funny.
Most people can't even get one car ready. You got 2 ready.
We had 2, and they were race ready. And you know, we worked really hard. I mean, you know, when I was a kid, I was like, you know, I was 18, 19, 20 years old or something. Gary and I would be like, you know, on a Saturday, we would be up at 8 o'clock in the morning and work all day.
Nice. Yeah, it's what part I miss. It's that
Mad Dog.
just working on shit. It's fun.
You ever met him?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
He looks like the white Chuck Berry.
It's always. I talked to a few people today about this podcast, and they just go the nicknames. It's the nicknames that you'd come up with.
I don't even know how
that stick. It's just something. Rain Man. You can somehow get it. The savant of nicknames.
I don't know. Some are easy, but I don't know how. I don't even know how I get some of them.
Scott's was pretty easy.
I did not name Pastor Tim Davis the Pastor of Disaster. That was done by somebody else. But you guys ever met him?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's an incredible person, just great. And those denomination derbies.
Yeah, yeah.
Just before you were born.
Just before.
It was cool. You know, we'd be like, the Baptists are chasing the Christians. You know, it would go on and on. But oh my goodness, it was so much fun, and you just couldn't believe the amount of people from the churches. You know, it'd be like, "Who's here from the West Side Bible Church?" And you know, these people like, "Yeah," you know, freaking out. You know, I don't know all the name of the churches, so we're not going to.
I'll say you name more than I know.
Yeah.
So going from obviously a lot of demo cars, stock cars, for a lot of years, it seemed like that was your go-to, and then you decided to step up into some fiberglass.
Yeah, how that happened was I don't know.
So did it go
I wanted to get
that way, then this way? Which way did it go?
I went that one first.
It went late model, then Then there was a Bart Smith deal and stuff there as well, right?
This is where it all comes about right here.
Okay.
So I wanted to get a late model car, but I didn't have the money. And then Ed James from Evergreen Automotive, he helped out Mark Stewart for many years, so he'd been around a long time. He's still a real good friend of mine. I met him 20 some odd years ago when I worked for Mid-Island, and him and I are still good friends today. He's like, hey, there's this car that was built for Peter Ganos in Campbell River or somewhere around there, and he took it out right away, set track record, won a couple of races with it, and never raced it very much. Destroyed it. First night he had a brand new Lejeune car, so it maybe had 3 races on it, and he said, George from TER, who I knew because he's an engine builder, he's like, George has got it. So I was like, what's the number? How much is it? And you'll laugh now because you know how much cars cost, but like it was a complete, I think we got it less engine and it was $4,000. So he goes, well, you can get it for $4,000. Well, I still had the other car. I still had the Buick. So I didn't know what to do. I think I sold that to Quackenbush.
Right. Yeah. The being 61 that point.
I'm pretty sure I did. I can't remember. I think I sold. So I had a deal going on it, but I didn't have the money. Well, poor Rich Bennett, who's an old-time racer and owns Rich Bennett Trucking Logging Company in Duncan, I dealt with him at Lejeune's, and I was talking at Mid-Island, and I was talking to him because I was the left front fender. See, I was at Mid-Island Engines now.
Mid-Island.
Yeah.
Little 360
When
penguin there.
Yeah, there's your dad. Yeah. Oh man, we drank more 360 than you could shake a stick at. Probably wasn't the best stuff, but it was free.
Yeah.
So that's where that fridge came from. That's out here.
Yeah, there's a little orange, Monty fridge in there.
We raffled that thing off.
Yeah.
So
that was a great sponsor.
when we had the other. We still had the other car, so we needed some money.
Yeah.
Like, we were using that money to beat the band, so I can't remember, we had a banquet or some bloody thing, and so we talked to Terry, and I was like, hey, can you get us a whole pile of beer? Well, yeah, no problem, right? So we fill it up with 360, and you're not allowed to do it either. I didn't know you couldn't just sell raffle tickets anytime you want, so... we're selling
allegedly.
We were selling raffle tickets.
Allegedly, we sold with beer in
and
there.
all kinds of shit. But we made a lot of money off of that. So I can't remember.
Bill's Appliance.
I
You
can't
usually
remember
get them, fix them up.
I can't remember who won it, but they gave us the fridge back. I just want the beer today. So you guys will have the fridge. So that's how Jeff wound up getting the fridge back, and he kept it for all those years, and then they put it here. So it's good to see it. I don't see it very often.
Yeah,
so
it's down the park.
That's kind of good thing you pointed that 360 out.
Yeah.
But. So I said to Rich, I don't have the money. He goes, I'll lend it to you. Wow. So he goes, come over to the house later. So I phoned up Jeff, and I was like, hey, I got a late model. And he's like, what? Jeff he'd just be stunned. I just do shit, and he'd be like, yeah, okay. So, and he was killing it in the other car. We ran that car, Thunder car, and then we ran it first year in sports.
Yeah, put the 10-inch on, put the 4-barrel on, and off you go. Yeah.
And we had I'll tell you Mike Dibley's story. He wouldn't have never won the championship if we hadn't blown the motor in that other car. So I'll tell you that after this one. So
that's your job to remember.
I said to Jeff, we gotta go get this car. I said, and it was winter time, and it was just starting to snow. And Jeff's like, when are we going to get it? So we're going to get it tonight. It was like Thursday night or something, right? And so we drove up to Campbell River, and it snowed more, and it snowed more, and it snowed more. By the time we got to Campbell River, it was like 2.5 feet of snow. Shit. And we're like, holy shit. So we're loading this thing up. It's starting to get dark out, right? So we're loading the car up, throwing body panels in and stuff like that. And then we're just BSing on the way back, about the plan of attack on the car and what we're going to do. And by the time we got home, it was like 4 feet of snow. And it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I can't remember. It was like terrible. I don't even know how we made it home, but we got it home and then we stripped it all apart, and then it wound up being this car here, and that's the most dominant car we ever had. I think we won. I heard Tim talk about it the other day. That he'd be like, I asked Jeff why the car would wiggle in the middle of the straightaway. That's when I put the gas down. The thing was,
the look on his face too. Timmy's face is like, I wanted horsepower like that.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Like Lou Moline would be like, I don't mind a guy pulling away from me, but when he's pulling away and smoke's coming off his back tires, that really pisses me off. So it was a really good car. I'm pretty sure we won 9 out of 12 races that year, and finished second to Tim.
What?
Mm-hmm. We DNF'd 2 races, 1 race, and believe it or not, Jeff Montgomery ran that car a whole year, and we never replaced a body panel. Wow. We replaced the nose with 2 races to go. We ripped it, putting it on the trailer. That's the only damage that's ever happened to that car. We set track record, I'm going to say, 8 different times in that thing. Jesus. It was incredible. It had Mid-Island machined, Neil Montgomery assembled. It was a killer. It was, and I think Jeff's wife Renee still says that's her favorite car.
It looked cool. Honestly, that was it really stood out the most. It must have been like your stock car when George Wage was like, "Hey, you're ruining this," because that was sort of the car that was like, "Oh, you're." It was a step above. It was,
we went nuts.
Bright orange, and it was cool.
When what the hell? When CASCAR came here, we took it out. They were going to let us run it. They looked at the car and they're like, "It was in here. We had it on display here, and they were all lined up or something." There was a media thing going on.
Yeah.
For there's some announcers you don't want to be like. So there's some media deal going on, and I said, "I'd really like to run with you guys." And they're like, "Oh, what do you got in it?" And we're like, "Oh, a 355," and I said, "We'll put a 2-barrel on it, and run it or whatever to run with you guys." And he's like, "Okay." So we took it out there, and we were like a quarter of a second faster, and we weren't even trying to you guys aren't running with us.
Yeah, we went the same night. They wouldn't let us run.
We were like, "Hey, we're gonna be on TV. This is gonna be great." And no, get rid of it.
Yeah,
we had that car was just incredible. And Neil, the only thing Neil had in that is I didn't have a 4-speed, and Super T10s were probably about $1,200 or whatever. Well, Neil had been saving the Super T10 forever, and I was like, "Oh, come on, can we use it?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay, well, you guys can put the 4-speed in it, and I want it back." Yeah, okay, whatever. So we ran the car, never won the championship. And we're getting sick of Tim Christie, so I thought Bart had the sprint car, and Bart Smith is like my brother. I love him to pieces. I just talk to him all the time, and he's like, "I can't get this effing sprint car to run. It's really jittery," and he wasn't having any fun with it. And I was like, "Why? What do you want for it?" And he goes, "Why don't we trade?" I was like, "Trade? Huh?" He's like, "All your stuff for all my stuff." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm in. Yeah, that's great." Well, I never talked to anybody. I didn't ask anybody anything. I never asked my wife nothing. So, and Bart had a lot of trick shit. He's got spare everything, and I had spare everything. Well, I never thought transmission in the car wasn't mine. Right, so boom, we're trading cars. So I phone up Jeff and I go, "Hey man, what's going on?" And he'd be like, "Hey, rocket shot, what's up, shooter?" Big dog, the way he talks when he's at the auto wreckers there. And I was like, "Hey, you ever think of running a sprint car?" Nah, I don't want it. I was like, "Shit." He's like, "What's the matter?" I said, "What?" I was like, "So I just got one." He said, "What?" He's like, "Well, what are you going to do with the sportsman car?" I said, "I traded it." I said, "I traded it straight with Bart." He's like, "Oh, man." So we took the car out, and there was something wrong with it. And I was still working at Mid-Island then, but Bill Vader built the engine in that thing. It was a really good stove. Mm-hmm. And it was a good car. Actually, that was a car that Trevor won the championship. He won an NSRA championship in that car.
Right.
So he'd already won in it. The car was flipped at Cassidy when it was a dirt car.
Is that the one that still has the...
Still got the dent in it. We left in it. We left it. We never fixed it. Always left
Sorry,
it
what
in
was the dent?
There's a little ding from the... Was it the wall?
For the wall where it went over. It's on the back half of the...
Right on the top
right on the halo
cage.
there. Yeah, so we never fixed it. But we put the overhead bar in it and stuff like that. So... Much to Jeff's dismay, I didn't know he wanted to win a Canada 200, or else I probably would have stayed with a sportsman car and maybe bought a late model, because I had a chance of buying some late model cars back then, and they were going pretty cheap.
Yeah.
You know, because some guys were getting out, some guys were getting in, and I had a chance of buying a Port City car back then, right before I got this thing. So we got this, and right away I knew it was in over my head. I took it home and was looking at it, and I said, well, we better take it to Lejeune's. So we took it down to Lejeune's. Well, next thing you know, we rebuilt the whole back half of the car, put new bird cages and trailing arms and all that stuff in it, and fixed the rear end. And we took it out. Whoa! It was fast. So I mean, fast back then was, that's a $10,000 engine in that car. Like back then, you built that engine, it was $10,000 brand new. That was 2 1/16 injection unit. We had ported and polished double bump heads with 205 valves that had some, 12.5 to 1 clunky TRWs in it, some sportsman rods, and a big heavy Hank the crank. And we did 1440s with it. And that's your local class, and that's kind of what everybody was running. So 1440, you're the dog, and away you go. And we ran like 1450s, 1440s right away with it, and we thought we were in the ballpark. And then I realized right away that if you want to run a sprint car, you better learn how to spend money, because if you don't put tires on them, you're hosed. You're going to the back. So we put on a fresh set of donuts, and we went out with our first race. We ran with the NSRA cars in the Daffodil Cup, and Jeff qualified not too far out of the A dash, and we wound up in the B dash. I think we were second fastest in the B dash, and we won the B dash right away. And then I think we were lined up for a heat race, and we're right at near the back of the heat race, and I wasn't really paying attention because you got a job to do.
Yep.
You can't go hooga googa at your car. I was busy, and then Mike Newman had the red 9 car, which looked a lot like ours. So I wasn't really paying attention. So they go around, and they're on the warm-up lap, and then the green flag comes out, and all of a sudden Andrew, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Benoit. Andrew Benoit?
Andrew Graham? Driving for
Benoit.
Yeah.
Good call.
27.
So
his recall's unreal.
Later on, we find out his throttle linkage, they didn't have the Allen key done up, and when he stood on it, it didn't go. And then Jeff, instead of jumping on the brakes and piling in the back of him, he took a right, so he went to the outside, and the left front tire hit the right rear, yellow and blue 27 car.
Yep.
And just went airborne, and I thought it was Newman. And I'm like, holy shit. And I looked at the bottom. We hadn't had a chance to paint our belly pan yet, and it was still white. Oh. And when it went up in the air, I saw white, and I was like, oh, this is no good. And he hit the flag stand. So as he was going over, he hit the flag stand, and then he went over like 3 or 4 more times. And I have physical photographs, which are weird to you guys, that Don Laidlaw gave me. This is kind of when Don was first getting into it, and he had the thing where you can take a picture as the whole thing goes along.
Just hold her down.
He had it. He laid it all out for me. And, you see the car flying apart in this thing, and then as the pictures pans across, you can see Jeff's wife and kids in the grandstands.
Just shocked.
Kind of wide-eyed. And then as I look through the pictures, you look and you see you had magnifying glass then. You weren't blowing it up on your screen, kids. And you see all the people that
Yeah.
They're looking at it. And I really didn't care about the car. I wasn't, because, Jeff and Trevor and those guys are like little brothers to me. So it was more important that Jeff was going to be okay, and it was a bad crash.
Yeah.
It looked really
He talked about it when he was on the podcast before I was doing it, but
before he stopped,
I was there. I saw
Trevor was out of the car.
Yeah.
So Trevor slid to a stop, and he was right by where you come out at the starter's gate there, and Jeff was over in the entrance on the inside in turn number 1, and he ran over there, and Trevor helped him get out. It was a pretty touching moment.
Yeah. When you see that happens,
you could have heard a pin drop.
Yeah. Well, it was. I was standing just as he come out of the grandstands, like from underneath.
Yeah.
Just running up to watch the start of the race.
Getting your cotton candy.
Got all my free stuff that I used to get from having my perks.
Yeah.
Hey, if your dad supplies a bunch of people with beer, you get a bunch of candy and treats and shit as a kid. It
Absolutely.
works out pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I remember running out, and all of a sudden, this sprint car's tumbling, taking out the thing, and what stuck with me was the impact on the front axle.
You could feel it,
because he landed when he stopped. Wasn't much further past the start finish line as I recall when I looked forward.
Right over when
he
you
hit,
go into turn one.
But when he hit that, it just like that propelled and that hit. It looked.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. Obviously, the wall is definitely hurt there.
Candy wasn't there.
So that's the second.
Yeah,
Just pausing it there. Yeah, Cole has a good one.
This is a story that I remembered from the year of tutelage's summer. You told me where I think it was it Kurt or Kyle that had his
Kyle had his buddy. Yeah. His buddy. We lived in Cobble Hill, close to Randy Price's place there. So one of Kyle's buddies that he went to school with, he'd never been to the races before. Dylan Armstrong, I think his name was. He wanted to go, so we took him. It's always, you can always impress kids when you can get them in the track for free, because I didn't have to pay for shit, so it was good.
And they're coming to watch a sprint car race, which,
So anyways, all the carnage happens and crap like that. And Candy phones the front office because she couldn't get a hold of my cell phone, which was a brick with the hard plastic. One of those things you just
Zach
poke
Morris
yourself
style.
in the eye. Yeah, one of those. So she phoned the front office, and she goes, I just phoned to see does anybody know how Jeff was doing? Oh, he just destroyed the car. So that was her deal. So anyways, we're driving home, and I'm not very happy. I'm not totally excited. I got to be honest with you. Because you don't give a shit really. But I was so glad that Jeff was okay. That was the most important thing to me. But then I'm driving home, and I'm a by-the-hour guy, and I'm thinking, I just spent a shitload on that car, and what am I going to do? And I say to Dylan, so you have a good time tonight, buddy? And he goes, yeah. I said, what was the best part? Oh, when your car got destroyed. That was incredible. I hope I can see that again. I was like, I hope I don't see it again. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. And then Candy, I took her to... I think Chris Smeltsy was living in Neil's house then, and we used the shop out the back. I think Chris was living there. So we got up in the morning, and Chris went out with us, and we were looking at the car, and Candy goes, what are you going to do? And I'm like, okay, well, we got about 50 grand into it, and it may be worth $5. So either we sell all the stuff we can and probably get $5 grand back out of it, or spend I don't know how much and fix it. So we took it to... Neil still never forgave me for the transmission. By the way. So I was kind of thinking, what if Neil's going to help me out? And I thought, probably not. So we took it to Lejeune's the Monday, I think. And then Russell phoned me at Mid-Island and kind of told me, basically how much it was going to be. And I was kind of like... I had a big gulp go down and trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to come up with the money. But it was 10 grand. So I was like, yeah, okay, we'll just fix it. And then we went and picked it up, and I think I got a new Visa card that day. I'm pretty sure I did. Because I'd be lying to you if I said I just went to the bank and took the money out. I think I got a new credit card that day. And then Neil and Jeff gave me some money when we picked it up, so it eased the blow a little bit. But it was pretty big wake up call. But I think we won a shitload of races in that car after that. So,
yeah.
But we had a couple of nights where you knock the front axle out of it, it's $1,000 to $1,500. You bend a couple of wheels, you bend the axle goes into the radiator, you got to get a wing. But Glenn Robbins, G-Wing, he was good friends with us.
Make some wings.
The old fireman there.
Yeah. Oak Bay Fire, good.
And I was at Oak Bay Fire, I'd be like, he gets a pretty good pension. I think, can I pay you for that wing later, Glenn? Oh yeah, no problem, Rob. So, he was good. I didn't keep that car very long. I couldn't do it. It was too much money for me. And
that's when it went to McLeod.
Jeff McLeod.
Jeff bought it.
Which is okay, because Jeff gave us a shit ton of money to begin with. I mean, that side of the wings was the best part. And he gave us a lot of money. He helped us out with the with the sportsman car too. So he'd been with us a few years. So we had HHS drilling and blasting. We had McLeod's blasting supplies. We had Ted's blasting. So our team was called Fast Blast Racing. I think it's on the thing there. So we had a lot of blasters help us out, and then guys like Dan McCammon and his wife. Dan had Gulfstream Electric. It's on the other part of the
there is our Gordon.
And then Dan's wife didn't know that they gave us a bunch of money. So right there on the car it says Linda McCammon Savings and Loan. So she saw the car at the races and she's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, we just put that on there for fun."
Yeah. Well, it's, my dad was mentioning the GMC Rocks.
GMC Rocks. We had that on lots of cars.
Yeah, and he said to ask you about that, which you already brought up about, not really wanting your name out there that you're helping a lot of people. But
I didn't. No, I'm not into being in the forefront. I like doing the car stuff. I really enjoyed that. I kind of wasn't one of those guys that leaned on the car and said, "Look at me." It was the guy who drove it that made it what it was. But I like getting it there. But this car we had, and even the sportsman car we had. We had a great crew. We had Neil, built and tuned engines. Roy Rippon was an incredible chassis guy.
Exhaust master as well.
He's a different dude.
Yeah, he made some kick-ass exhaust pipes.
He was
X-pipe for my stock car.
Wayne Harrison, Ching Ching, he helped out with us. He got into the blasting stuff with us too. He got involved because he was a blaster.
Oh, okay.
And always hung out with us. Of course, Rubber Nuts, Davey Ferguson, the man.
Who's allowed us in here today, which I don't think we brought up where we are, actually.
Yeah. We're the Hall of Fame in the trophy room.
The trophy room.
Which is cool. And I said to you boys, I
never looked around.
I haven't been in here for a long time. And you know how bad my memory is? I can walk around here and I can see myself in pictures and I don't even remember being there.
Well, you knew where it was, at least.
Yeah.
It's like 100 feet that way.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had a crew, and I can't forget Bruce Lesperance, Frog.
Yep.
He helped us out too. So we had a good crew. Everybody had their job, whether it was on this car, the sportsman car, or the Thunder car. We always had a really good crew, and they were great guys. But I was glad. I was sad a little bit to get out of the car, but Jeff always gave me kudos when they won the championship. Jeff McLeod.
Yeah.
So I sold it real cheap.
Right. And Jeff Montgomery was mentioning, he's just like, he wouldn't have been racing anything more than a claimer car, essentially, if it wasn't for you. So seeing someone like that, Jeff obviously, I wouldn't say overshadowed now, because obviously all the NSRA championships and stuff he's won, but at the time, Trevor was getting all the attention and all the help and all the sponsorships and all the different things. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but you see Trevor, and then you brought Jeff along. The two nicknames. The Storm Brothers. Yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you, the best night of my life was when we finished second.
03 Daffodil Cup?
Daffodil Cup. Trevor first and Jeff second, and it was pretty close. It was
nice.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great feeling to see them both. Look, I babysat those kids.
Yeah.
And it was great. And Jeff Montgomery's thanked me many times over the years for helping him get where he is. I didn't help him. I just kind of...
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question because I knew you're going to answer it. Like, well, I didn't really do much, whatever else. But what made you want to own? My dad owned cars and helped people out through the years, and he was sort of resonating that you're the same type of person in the regards where you're helping people out.
Yeah.
And putting people in cars and getting sponsors. Like my dad was mentioning, he's like, because I didn't really I was 16, 17 range.
Yeah.
He's like, Rock helped us out a ton. He helped Barrett out a ton, Montgomery a ton. What drove you to kind of be that and to motivate you and not to want any attention from it? Like you did all this and you didn't want your name on anything. You wanted to be from the background. What kind of was it?
I was
parents
a shitty driver.
Well, you said you finished 7th in your first race.
It was,
what drove you to that? What kind of motivated you?
Track record. I set track record in Thunder Car. When I first started Thunder Car, I think track record was 1923, and there was, like I say, 20 some odd cars or whatever. And I think the second night out, I went 1890, and then knocked it down a lot of times after that. Then near the end of the year, I didn't have a car out one night, and Robbie Haslam. I wasn't driving, and Robbie Haslam broke the track record, and Robbie ran over to me, and this is when you could get your track record back.
You get one lap after,
so you have one lap to get your track record back.
Right.
Robbie came over and offered to let me drive the car to see if I could beat the track record. I'm like, you're hilarious. I just laughed. I was like, you funny son of a bitch. But I didn't know. I didn't try that. But no, I really enjoy being with people. You know, I love your dad, your mom, and Paula, and all those people. You know, I spent a lot of time with those. They were really good people. So, I mean, I helped people that I liked, and lots of times, you know, I got good connections. I had connections through, you know, parts and machining or paint or whatever, and I had people help me, and I passed it along. So, I really enjoyed it. I mean, Kyle and Kurt sometimes go, "Geez, how come we didn't get race cars?" So, and I told them, I was like, you know, when they came, like, they were so involved in sports, you know, and you were too with lacrosse and whatnot. I forgot your lacrosse stick. I got a lacrosse stick you lent the kids years ago and never gave it back, and I got it. It's in the closet.
Okay, you give my lacrosse stick back, and you give Neil Montgomery his transmission back.
That way, don't. Sorry, Neil. I think Neil could afford one transmission. But,
it's the principal, Rock.
No, I will give you your lacrosse stick back.
You can keep it as a gift.
No, I mean, it was so easy to help people because they were always appreciative, and you know, I helped people I really liked, like your dad and Guy, and God, who else did I help? Helped lots of guys over the years.
Robbie drove a couple of cars there, and
the Haslams, and I helped Michael out with his car a bit. You know, I got sponsors and stuff for Trevor when they were racing. We got oil sponsors and paint sponsors, and
a Spokane trip with Mikey too. Apparently, took a super late model race down there.
Oh, that was great. Him and Joyce and Brian Woodski.
Yeah.
Who, you know, I always wanted to give Brian Woodski kudos because I walked up them stairs hundreds of times.
He's always up top there. Yeah.
And Woodski'd always be there.
Yeah.
You know, and Joyce wasn't always with him, and lots of times Brian would give me a ride home because when they lived in Souk, I'd get a ride home with them. And that's another cool thing about fans and stuff like that is like Candy dropped me off at the races, and I'd be like, I'll get a ride home. I lived in Cobble Hill, and I'd be like, hey, anybody going past Cobble Hill on their way home tonight? I'd go home with fans, shit like that. It was great. You know, people would talk, oh, how'd you get involved in racing and blah, blah, blah. People I didn't know, they give me a ride home. So, you know, but that was pretty cool. But no, the GMC Rock stuff was fun. We had a lot of fun with that. And unfortunately, racing got expensive, and it was harder to get sponsors when my boys were kind of in that realm, and they played high level soccer and baseball, so we were pretty busy with all that. So, and that cost a lot of money, and I got to tell you, racers helped us out a ton, because we had to get sponsors to pay for baseball. And, you know, sometimes programs cost like $4,000 to $10,000, and you know, you gotta send your kids, especially Kurt, my youngest boy there. You know, he'd be like playing in. Oh, there they are. Yeah, you snuck that one in.
Yeah, I did.
So
I had a couple put in there.
That's
after.
Kurt when he played Kingsport, Tennessee in the rookie league for the New York.
Rock
Mets.
is standing up there. So
yeah,
if you're watching
I'm not standing in a hole. Kurt's the youngest one. He's in the middle, and there's Kyle on the other side. So, you know, we did a lot to help them along, and they were good, and they really enjoyed. They grew up at the racetrack, mostly Kyle, because when Kurt got to be in the teenage years, he was all over the place playing ball. But it was good for them, and you know, they have an involvement like through business stuff like you do, you know, and you have an involvement with Kyle and
yeah, it's all,
you know, stuff like that. It goes hand in hand and goes full circle. But you know, I was going to say stuff like, you know, Steve Kopp helped us out.
Yeah,
you know, he was great. I mean, you can't say enough about Steve Kopp. And you know, speaking of sponsors, you know, for the most part, when you sponsor a race car, you're not getting anything out of it. But Steve Kopp said to me one day, one of the very few times I visited him at his office over on Bay Street there, and he said, you know, I got a house built because of the racetrack. So what do you make on profit? I don't know. I don't build houses.
Yeah.
20 grand, whatever he put into racing, he got back from one person. He goes, so, you know, it could happen. And you guys still see Steve Kopp's name on lots of cars here. So
yeah, he did a lot to help out Brando and Lil Darryl, a bunch of guys with his. I think Rory had his late model in there, and maybe Chopsticks, and they were building some stuff at Bay Street there.
Very giving person.
Yeah, and again, it's to touch on things like there's no real need to. It just kind of it's same reason why I watch I enjoy like Jason and everyone else. I like to have my cars out because people that help me out.
Yeah,
I like to kind of go, well, here you go, and it's because I'm trying to figure out if something's wrong with me.
Too. I mean,
it doesn't make any sense though.
Yeah.
My wife's like, "What?
It's
just get rid of the cars and you can just." I'm like, I know, I want to do it though. Just
well,
it's kind of fun.
How close is your attraction to the place?
To here?
Yeah.
Well, I was similar to you. I think I was away from the track for a while, and I think Chris or someone asked me to come on the podcast, and I was like, I don't want to come. Why? I'm not even at the track anymore. Everything else. And just that question, I started talking to my dad, and I was like, maybe I want to go on the podcast. And so just starting to talk with people, you kind of get the thing. Like I've been out here since I was born.
You get fired up.
You get fired up, and it's like it kind of went away for a little while, and it's back again. Where just coming out the track and doing stuff, it's fun.
I didn't miss it.
You didn't? I didn't either. I was in Australia, and
It was 2011, and I told Daryl, I'm done. I can't do this stuff anymore. I mean, it's probably easier for Cole because you're young, but you know, you start getting in your 40s and your 50s, and you know, you got your working life and stress that goes on, and raising your kids and stuff, and people don't realize it takes a lot out of you to entertain people. You know, and it's easy to entertain when you got 20 cars and there's a lot of shit going on. Mm-hmm. It's not easy to entertain when there's 7 cars and people don't want to hear dead air. By the time I got home, many times I didn't even remember who won the race. Who won the race? I don't know. Mm-hmm. You know, whatever. And then Sunday I'd be dead. You know, I'd be just totally
mentally exhausted.
Mentally exhausted. It does take a lot out of you. You ever notice that?
Yeah, especially on Sundays after the ride home when you're finally
or when you do a Friday and a Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, you go to work Monday, you're like, holy crap. You know, it's not physically exhausting, but it's emotionally
you have to go into a different mode and click on. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, you have to be careful what you say. Before I finish, I'll say, because I made a huge mistake once. It was a holiday Monday, Victoria Day, and back then racers would go right from the parade and they'd come out here and and the place would be packed, and I mean packed, one end to the other. This is when Butch was running the place, and somebody was sitting beside me, and I had this kind of, I don't know what you call those flexible stands for the microphone. But I had the microphone against my head, and I was flicking it on and off. Oh boy. And I can't remember who it was. Some idiot stick was walking across the track, and I go, there goes a effing idiot. And I had the mic on. and it's kind of one of those things where you're like, oh. Did I just say that?
Just kidding.
And then people are looking back, and I'm like, oh, this is good. 5 minutes later, Butch comes up. No, it's not 5 minutes. Half an hour later, Butch comes up. You didn't get mad. Butch and I had one disagreement the 13 years I worked for him. I went home before a race started. I was like, see you later. I'm out of here. Drove home. That's another story. So I see Butch coming up the stairs, and he's red. Not red because he's way overweight and he shouldn't be coming up the stairs in a jacket when it's 90 degrees out. But he's pissed off, and I can tell he's pissed off. And he's like, do you have any idea how much money you just cost me? I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He's like, oh, I gave away free passes. I gave people their money back, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, sorry, buddy. You know, so, you know, you got to be careful with stuff.
Be careful every so often.
But that was, you know, it's kind of one of those things, you know, I made a mistake.
It's not bad over 13 years,
but
32
it
years.
Tires you out. So I got to the point in like 2011, I said to Daryl, I can't do it anymore. And then in 2014, I really wanted to leave. No, it was before that. It was 2013 when I met you and your dad. So we had a Hornet race, and I was going home. And after the race, Dad, Steve, right?
Daryl.
One of
the
Sorry.
15 of them.
Sorry, buddy. Mark, I don't know. I told you I don't have very good memory.
We'll
So
edit
they
that part
come
out.
up and-
We'll clean it up.
And he says to me, yeah, clean that one up.
Yeah.
So he says to me, my son is interested in becoming a broadcaster. And he's just a little guy, right? And I'm like, perfect. I'm quitting next year. I'll sign you in and just come every race and I'll teach you what to do. So Cole was like my little shadow. I'd stop and boom, there Cole be running into me. So, and then, I taught him. I didn't really teach you. You just kind of hung around and watched what I did. And I just said, here's what you do at this time. And
Turn the lights off once or twice.
here's what you do, blah, blah. Here's all the music and all that other shit. And then after a while, I was like, I'll just let him do it. So I just, more and more, you do a race, and then I'd let him do 2 races. And then, I was getting paid, so I really didn't care. So you do what you want. I'd be like, okay, take over. I'd go to the VIP booth, get some snacks, bullshit with people there, and he'd be doing it. And one night I said to Daryl, he can do it. He's going to be fine. I was like, I'm out of here. I quit this year. And Daryl's like, what? He's only like 15. I was like, no, he's 14, but he'll be fine. Don't worry. I said, he'll be 15 next year. It'll be good. So I remember when they gave me a watch at the end of the year there, and I think I said something like, yeah, we were going to hire Cole last year, but 9:30 was his bedtime, so he couldn't come up. So, you've done a good job. I'm really proud of you. And the deal with Check 6, I never wanted to be anything like that. I had no desire to do anything. I liked races, and it was fun for me. And I got to razz the shit out of people. I made some people laugh over the years. I probably pissed off the odd person. But
I don't know how many people pissed off, though, but how was it for you? Like, obviously being younger, you might not have seen how much impact Rocky made from the 80s into the early 2000s, but how was it for you taking over? Like, did you get the full impact? Like, how many times did people tell you?
The first year I showed up, I was like, man, I even miss Rocky talking on the PA. But no, it was always good, and I always remember when people would be like, oh, you have big shoes to fill. Rocky would always be like, oh, he's size 13 feet.
I told you when I left, you don't have to be anything like me. As long as you're the best Cole Sorensen you can be, you're going to be fine. I didn't want you to be like me. I don't think I was a little bit like Reg Midgley because I spent a lot of time here and listened to him so much. So I think more of the way the program ran, I did it like Reg, but he had a great voice, like incredible. Did you ever hear him?
No, I
probably
no.
No, he was great. He didn't really give me too much advice. He's like, about cars, tell people about cars. And he used to egg me to do more. Yeah, you need to talk more. You need to talk more. This is when I was doing the cordless mic. And the first time I did upstairs a couple times before he quit, and then before I went upstairs for Butch, and it was terrifying. So it's less terrifying for me to be behind the crowd than it is to be in front of the crowd. I don't like that. What's it like being on TV?
TV, it's not that bad because you can talk yourself out of it just being like, oh, I'm just talking to Mark, the camera guy. But it was the same thing when I started, and you'd be like, go do the Victory Lane interviews. I'd be crapping myself when I was...
That's the hardest part,
yeah.
I think that's the hardest part, is being in front of people. Because sometimes you just lose track of what you're saying. Mm-hmm. There'd be times like I'd introduce the trophy dash, and I know everybody, and I'd get to a car, and I'd be like,
yeah,
who is it? It'd be like Corey Gronstad. I went to school with him.
You helped me out a few times. I remember a couple of trophy dashes or whatever. And I think I was like 16 or something, and you're like, thank your sponsors, dumbass. And I was like,
it was funny.
I have to read the side of the car off. He's like,
I hope a bunch of guys who won races listen, because I said some pretty incredible shit to them before they got out of the car.
It's shocking.
I used to say some really crazy stuff.
There was some GoPro footage that Guy Barrett put on YouTube of, I think, when he won a trophy dash, and there was an interesting comment.
Did I say something?
About Steph.
Oh. I love Stephanie. Guy knows it too. I used to say it to him on the people. Did a great job. I love your wife. Stuff like that. But no, the things I said to people were just freaking bizarre. But I took a year off in 95. I never announced in 95. I ran my car for the first part of the year, and then Rob Scott really wanted to take a run at the IMCA Championship, and I said I'd help him. I got 2 engines. We called them Arnold and Rambo. We had
again with the names.
We had a 350, like a 12-1 350, and then we had a killer 406, like a 13-1 406 or something. And he had an old Shaw car that he got off Butch, and so I ran with him and I crewed with him, and we did really well. We won the Western Speedway Championship, and near the end of the year we had a motor problem, and we needed another engine. Pam put an engine together. I remember her putting it together, so that was a lot of fun. And then we went out to I can't remember how many races you took your best finishes out of, but we needed one more, and Rob's like, let's go to Lethbridge. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's go to Lethbridge. What the hell? So we drive out to Lethbridge, and we're out there, and we're hot lapping, and I got the stopwatch and stuff, and he comes in, and he's like, how are we? I'm like, slow down, we're 3/10 faster than the closest car. I was like, we're a second faster than most of the cars. And then the hot dog, who was leading the points out there, and I think we were really close for 1 and 2 in the Canadian Championship. We ran 4 speeds, and everybody ran 4 speeds out here. I think Conway ran an automatic or something. And this guy had some trick automatic in his car, and I was like, hey, ever have any problems with that thing? What's that thing like? Oh, I never had a problem with it. We just won 4 races in a row, blah, blah, blah. Boom. Next hot lap session, he blew it up. We helped him put one in.
Of course.
So whatever. Right? So anyways, we I can't remember if we won the race or we did. They were going to disqualify us for something on the car. I went nuts. Rob wasn't even anywhere around. I was ready to kill this guy. By the way, you would have loved it. Your dad would have loved it too. There was a circle track on one side and a drag strip on the other side, and they had Alberta beef burgers, triple patties for $5.
Nice.
So we'd take a break, go over, eat a hamburger, watch the drags, get a hamburger, take it back to the bits.
Perfect night.
So anyways, we're driving home, and Rob's tired and Pam's tired, and we had Rob's old, 71 F100 short box and the open trailer on the back. We didn't have all this trick stuff, and they fell asleep. I don't know what time it is, but we're trying to catch the ferry, and we're going through Active Pass. Is that what it is? I don't know what the hell it is.
No,
where
it's
you go through the tunnel.
Yeah.
The pass.
Yeah.
So you go through
I can't
the
remember what it's called. Yeah.
Rob wakes up and sees white in front of him. So I'm drafting a semi, and Rob looks over, and we're doing 100 and some odd miles an hour down the hill with the race car trailer on, drafting the truck, and he's like, holy shit. So he was like, yeah, you're not going to want to race ball. Pam didn't wake up, fortunately.
Luckily.
But a good Rob Scott story was we're running at Western Speedway, and Norm Scott's flagging. Norm and Rob bump heads periodically when Norm's the flagger. So we're going through 1 and 2, and Daryl Midgley's on the outside, and he turns a car around, and he turned himself around, and Norm black flagged him. And I'm not one to... My deal is, if it happens on the track, it stays on the track. You come in the pits, you take care of things gentlemanly, although I love to see a good fight. So Rob comes in like 425 miles an hour. We're parked right where you go out on the backstretch there where you go out to qualify. Yeah. So we're parked right there. So he comes flying in, and he's flailing like an idiot as he comes in, shit flying around all over the inside of the car. And he wings the window net down, and he's screaming and yelling, F this, F that, and he's going to go kill his brother. And he flung the window net down, and he pulled the steering wheel off, and he threw it out the window, and it hit me. Pretty close to the nether region.
Down south.
So now I'm not very happy. And he, you know what Rob's like, a little short little shit, and he's freaking out. So he goes to run at Norm. Everybody's looking, and I kicked his one heel. I kicked his heel behind the other one, and then he tumbles and falls over in the pits. And he gets up, and he can't go over there anymore because he's like totally embarrassed. So that was a couple of little Rob Scott stories for you.
That's payback for the nut shot.
But it hurts. He wung it out there like he was flinging a frisbee. I don't ever let him forget. And I got to tell you something about Rob Scott. He's probably the most underrated driver that ever drove at Western Speedway. Yeah, there's a guy who would take a 5th place car and win with it.
Because he was a little bit before my time for watching to see the heyday, but so mid 90s, I'd be like 10, 12 years old. He was still top 3 winning.
That's when he was racing stock cars.
Yeah, and then I saw a little trail in with IMCAs.
Yeah. So
this one here, I just want to go back a little bit. Before we get too far away. This one was an interesting conversation.
I know where that's from.
Yeah, so give a little backstory for
that's
this.
Jeff Montgomery's.
Yep.
Yeah, he got that when I won a bet from Greg Sheehan from NSRA.
Yeah, so it's if you're just listening, it's a $1 American note, and from my understanding, there's a little bet put down, and tell the rest of the story.
We don't you don't work with like co-announcers. Lots of tracks in the States, they have 2 guys. One guy will do a lap, and the other guy will do another lap, and then sometimes when race sanctioning bodies, they come to another track, they have their own announcer that goes with them, and so NSRA brought Greg Sheehan, and I think Matt and Bullitt were running the track at that time, and Bullitt didn't want the guy to do it by himself. I want Rocky to work with him or whatever. And I met Greg; he was a really nice guy, and I was just hassling him because we had the man, we had Trevor Montgomery, so you guys got to come here and beat us. So F you. So every time somebody came out, whether they were qualifying or whether we're in a trophy dash or heat race or something, I'd bet him. I'd be like, that's my guy. He'd be like, I'll take Deaver in the 15 car. Yeah, it was always shit like that. But Jeff won the dash. And then I got that off of him.
Yeah. So Jeff was saying he found that 18 years later in his toolbox.
That's crazy, eh?
And
he never told me.
Yeah. That's pretty cool because he kept it and he
I recognized
actually meant something.
That's from Jeff.
Yeah. So it's the only dollar you actually made from racing.
That was fun. Like when NSRA came and Greg was there, we had a really good time. Nothing against the way guys race today, but you had a dozen guys that started the Daffodil Cup that could win. There'd be Trevor, Craig Deaver, his brother, Rick Brown. There's a guy for you. That was incredible. Rick Brown. We ran a Saturday Sunday show. Was it Saturday? However it worked out. Ran Campbell River and he wrecked the car, and then they fixed the car and they brought it to Western. And Western, we're a big crowd. It was a big crowd, and the car wouldn't go. It wouldn't handle worth shit, and he was a hot shoe. And I was standing there, and he said to the guys on his crew, he's like, "Get the hardest tire we got, and let's put on a show." So they put on a hard right rear tire, and he smoked it all the way around.
Yeah, the whole way around.
Every race he qualified, smoked it all the way around. And he's like, "I ain't got nothing for nobody."
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't cheap to run one of those cars. I mean, they were pretty expensive. They were expensive back then. I mean, nowadays you run a sprint car, you're running an all aluminum, 360, and the cars are probably $75,000 to $100,000. So, back then they weren't cheap either, and they were running some pretty good stuff. So to have a guy, take the risk to run an expensive car like that just to put on a show for the fans. I mean, that's what it was all about. It was great, and the fans at Western Speedway have always been really good. I always really enjoyed interacting with the fans, and I always had fun with the people that sat in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Woodskis.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, no kidding.
So, you kind of got through the past from else and talk a little bit about your boys and going through and the bond you had about cars.
Yeah.
Both of them seem to love polishing up your stuff and fixing things.
Yeah.
Now into helping Romper a little bit.
Who's that guy with Ron?
I don't know.
Hey?
I don't know.
Somebody's got their thumb in the picture.
Someone's got the thumb in the picture over there. Got Miller Carr in the background and Dave Smith.
I took that picture.
You took that picture.
That's my thumb.
That's the one you sent to me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What?
I never sent you that one. You got that from somewhere.
This one here?
No, not that one. I sent you that one. I never sent you that one, but I took that picture. I don't know where it's from.
I don't know.
But if it hadn't have been for Ron Payne, I wouldn't have went back.
Yeah, because it seemed like he dragged you back out.
I've
Why?
never gone to the track again.
Yeah. Why? Why did he drag you out?
First of all, Leanne wanted a Hornet car.
Yeah.
Leo, his oldest daughter,
Yeah.
Leo, who I spent lots of time with his daughters teaching them baseball and softball and hitting and stuff like that. And Romper and I have been friends for a long time as the MC at their wedding. So, and that was the last time I drank. Was that they just celebrated their 20th anniversary, so they had their 20th anniversary just a little while ago, and just a few weeks after that was the last time I ever drank. So,
story for another time to find out why you stopped drinking.
I've always had a close bond with him, and he's a fantastic person, and he's helped us with the kids' cars, and I helped his kids with sports and stuff like that. And he said that Bart actually told me that he was going to get a modified iMod, whatever, and he goes, I got one for Rom. And then Rom's like, hey, I'm getting this car, much to Tracy's dismay. Sorry, Tracy. But and then Kyle kind of took over my role and got all the sponsors.
Cool.
So Kyle took over the management to get the stuff together for the modified, and we had a great time. And it should have had collector's plates on it. It's an old car. Everybody we talked to had the car.
Yeah.
Everywhere we went, I had that car, and I got involved, and I liked to, paint and detail everything. So I really wanted the car to look good, and I knew Romp was going to do well in it, and eventually my boss allowed us to build him an engine for it. Romp supplied all the stuff, and we did all that, and that was great. And then my brown brother, Norm Joel, he puts the bug in Romp's ear that he wants to run the Cody P&D car, and we're like, oh geez, I don't know. Romp said no, and I was like, I don't want to either. I don't really want to get into that right now. And I had the realization working on the iMod how much I forgot about race cars. I really fumbled and stumbled around, other than putting one together, because everything goes in the same place on every car. But how to set them up and do that other stuff, I got to the point where I was just about ready to quit. I was like, I can't do this stuff. I don't understand. But luckily, Mike Hardy helped us out. Hardy. Yeah. It was real good. And Kurt, my boy Kurt, and Kyle got involved a bit. Not so much Kurt, but Kyle did, and it was a good thing for us to do that. And then as soon as we got the car and got it ready, and as soon as we started putting the decals on it, you kind of get a little excited. And then when we went to the 200, that's the first time I'd been in a 200 since ran before.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So yellow 55 cars.
Yeah.
That was the last time I had been in the pits for a 200.
Shit.
So it was good.
It was
we did
cool.
pretty well.
Yeah.
We had some issues with it, but we stayed out of trouble. And I mean, some of those guys out there had some serious cake in those cars.
Yeah, big time.
So it was good. And the only thing that freaked me out was when the battery blew up in Rob Angus's car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody was around. I wasn't feeling very good.
That was scary.
And
so it was during the 100 lap.
Rob get sick there was.
That was at the 100 lap cutoff.
It wasn't good. Yeah, it was right
break.
then.
So they're refueling, and then.
Yeah, there was crap all over the place. I forgot how hectic it gets in the pits.
Yeah.
The iMod stuff we did, everything was spread out a little bit more, but that 200 that we ran last year, it was pretty packed in there, and you forget how easily you can get run over too, and I just about got run over. Yeah,
well, luckily that car's bright yellow.
Yeah.
The other ones, the dark cars coming through, and you're like, it's like you mentioned about the setup and stuff. Same thing for me. Like Stu Ferguson has this car now, and been out a few times, and Robbie Haslam has my other car, and they're asking like, hey, what'd you do for this or that? And I'm like, I don't know. I asked Dale and Colin Coopers to help me, and James, and you're like, you kind of recall, you're like, well, we need the whole team back to get any information for you, because I don't remember. I was lucky enough to have a great crew around that knew everything. I was just
Mike Haslam came over and helped us a bunch.
He's a super knowledgeable guy. Like
he's really
crazy.
Melvin.
Yeah.
It was great to see Melvin. I've known Melvin since I was a little boy.
Since he was
just so No, I was way shorter than Melvin. But no, I know Melvin since I was a little boy, so I enjoy all the time that I ever get to spend with him. He helped us out with the iMod car, which I think that whole iMod deal that Bart put together was incredible, and I think it looked pretty competitive. I don't know what it was like from the stands, but
it seemed good. It just
from being around the pit area, it was good to be around all those people.
I don't know if it's a popular opinion. Probably not. I don't think on the island you can have both. You can't have late models and iMods.
So we starting the fight now, or?
It's the fight. I love watching those mods. It's just you.
I think money wise, I like the iMods better. I like the look of a late model.
Late models are wicked.
Yeah.
My dad had modifieds. I love modifieds. On my desk, I was talking to Mikey last night. I have a picture of Mikey driving the black iMod my dad had.
Yeah.
I think they're the coolest things.
Was it gold when your dad had it too?
He had the gold 66 when Barrett drove it.
Yeah.
And then they had the black 8 with someone else. I can't remember. It's the Chevron car. And then they had the black 8 that Mikey drove with the blue number and the silver outline and had the Pacific Western on the side of it. As soon as you see these cars, you get 20 of these, and then you get 3 people that want the iMods. And then you get 10 and 10. And then you get 20 and 2, and you go back the other way again. And it just, on the island, I don't know what you can do, but it seems like the same guys are the ones that run both of them.
Yeah.
And it's like when you get 30 of these, you have 0 iMods. And it's
I
just
was worried about that when they brought the wingless deal in.
Right, that has worked.
That was...
Yeah.
Yeah, but, it kind of killed the Will Rock wing program.
Yep.
We were running 25 of those things, and like I said, when we ran that 33 car, that was like a $10,000 engine.
Yep.
You go out there and you can be competitive. You had a lot of guys in that class that ran really well, but
lights cars.
I watched
crazy fast.
I watched IMCA modifieds and the iMods and stuff like that. I think you got to be a really good driver to wheel one of those things because it's just like Days of Thunder. When he explains to him that you got
it's better than 4.
You got so much horsepower and the tires this wide,
Yeah.
and you got that much horsepower and the tires that wide. So, unfortunately, everybody puts too much horsepower in them, and you got to be a good driver.
Yeah.
And some really good drivers ran that IMCA class.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
Gary
like
Smith.
Smith and
when he first came
Trevor
out.
Montgomery's car, like that thing looked unreal.
Yeah.
At 17, it was just so
Yeah,
cool.
but even when they ran that, when they first came out, they had a whole pile of cars, but there really wasn't a whole pile of guys that could win.
Right. Okay.
And if and I heard Tim. I really enjoyed Tim Christie's too, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
His podcast, because he'd be one of my top people that I ever dealt with in racing. I really admire him and respect him. But the way he talked about going to the outside, when I heard he was coming on, and I knew exactly who it was when you guys had that 522 car on there too.
No one said anything. I was like, what the hell?
That was over by Thomas Auto Wrecking
Yeah.
that picture, and I knew the car right away.
I could see all the stats.
I
It was like
didn't say
300
nothing.
people saw it, and then no one said anything. I
think I liked it, and
I had to delete it. I looked like an asshole. I was like, no one said anything.
Anything you guys do, I don't think it's fair that I answer. So
That's the whole point. You need a conversation starter.
Most part, I remembered all that shit. But I was surprised nobody got in there.
I had to tell Paul, because Dad knew right away, obviously. So I had to tell Paul, I was like, Dad, say another name that was around that time. So I'm not sure who he said, Terry Dyke or somebody. So I put the wrong name up to try to spark some conversation.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. No one bit. So anyways, yeah.
And that had an Oldsmobile in it.
Is that what it was? Yeah. The 522.
Tim talked about getting out early.
Yep.
And that's what probably his biggest success was, that he made moves early.
Yeah.
I think the best thing is the fast guy starts in the back. I don't like the balloon footing that guys do. I've never agreed with it, and I think you're a pussy. If you do that, you want to be the fast car. You start in the back, you work your way to the front. And Tim was smart enough to get out and go early. And then especially when we got the sportsman car, late model, whatever the hell it is, Jeff purposely practiced the car in the second and third groove. So, because you start in the back, you got to make the moves and make it happen. And there's only so many guys that can do that with a great amount of success. And we talked about a bunch of them here already.
Yeah, no, it makes a big difference to go outside. I used to, when I started practicing, Robbie and Mikey'd come out. I think I drove Mikey's Claimer car the first time or something like that, in a full-size car. And I'm not sure if we put cones down or what it was, but there was in turn 1 and 2, and he's like, pretend the curb's here.
Yeah.
And so I'd practice on the outside, and you get used to that. And then you get used to the car doing certain things out there, and you kind of get better and better, but I could never master it like those guys. It seemed to work just as well on the outside for those guys for 3 or 4 laps to get by. But
the important thing is to look ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people, we call it driving off the hood emblem, which a lot of people do when they drive on the street.
Yeah.
You know, and like Rob Scott told me, when you go into turn 1, you better be looking over to turn 2. So, and his old timer was the first car I ever drove when Milt Barnes had it, and it was fast. That's when old timers, they were fast. And that was a dominant car. They let me drive it for my birthday one year, and I took it out, and it was such a blast to drive. But when I had the Thunder car, Rob came out, and he goes, I'll show you, I'll help you out. Well, they're pretty quick. You're going around there, 18s or whatever. Well, I go through turn 1, I come in turn 2, and there's Rob Scott standing right in the middle of the track. And he's pointing, and I'm, I come around the next time, I'm like, what are you doing? He said, I'm showing you where to go. What if I hit you?
Don't hit me.
It's not like he's like, Mr. Nimble, and he's going to get out of the way. But that's, that's how he kind of taught you how to do stuff. But that was pretty fun.
I like it. Well, Rocky, I think we're at the max here. We've or not the max. We've had the longest podcast so far. We're at just about 2 hours.
What?
Yeah. Time flies.
New track record.
It's like
track record.
It's like when I came down to Lejeune's, 14, 15, 16, 17, all the way till about 25. I could sit and talk to you for hours.
Well, that's good. I didn't think we'd have very much to talk about.
No, I think that there's...
I will tell you one funny thing before we go.
Yes, please do.
And this is... You guys ever hear about the Fireball French deal?
No.
Matt and Bullitt hadn't had the track for very long, and when I was young, there was, and I heard Tim talk about it the other night, Orville the Daredevil Clown used to have the Joey Chitwood Thrill Show where they, bring out the Camaros and they drive around the track on 2 wheels and all this other shit. So, anyways, Matt books in Fireball French. I never heard of the guy. I guess he sent a videotape, which is a cassette back then. So Matt hires him. So I can't remember. There wasn't really the stands weren't very full. There wasn't very many people there, and I think it was a Monday race. Donnie Gordon's son was running the backhoe out by where the gravel thing is there now. Yeah. He knocked a power line off. We got no power. Hello, can you hear me? So we got no microphone. We got nothing. So this Fireball French guy, he comes out. Matt's just yelling out, Here he is, Fireball French. All right, here we go. So he's all suited up, all bundled up, ready to explode. Gets in his car. Car won't start. Oh, we got a problem. Car won't start. They don't have any other cars prepared. So, push him with the tow truck. Everybody, okay, we'll push him with the tow truck. So the car's set up as you go into turn number 1 into the pits. The car's set up right there. They got all the pyro shit over here. So they push the car around. So I won't say what tow truck company it was because it's embarrassing as shit. So they push the car down the back stretch, and then they come out of turn 4, and the guy hit the brakes way too early. So here comes Fireball French. I could have ran faster. And he comes down and he hits the car, not even enough to create an ICBC claim. The car comes down, tink. Then you wait for the explosion. No explosion. And then he gets out of the car and his girlfriend comes up with a lighter. He's got his arm out. She's trying to light it with a lighter and it won't go. And I yell out to Matt, he's in the no smoking section. The place just goes crazy. Bullitt laughs at me. Bullitt's like, only you could get us out of this, right? But that's how, and then they tried for like 5 minutes. I'm like, forget it. Yes. It was just it was a total disaster. And it was like, we weren't even halfway through the program. It was, if there had been 4,000 people there, it would probably been the most embarrassing thing. But I think maybe there was like 1,000 people there. They must have thought it was absolutely funny. I told them all to group together out in front of the announcers booth so I didn't have to yell, "Hey, you guys want to know what's going on? You better come over here and sit out in front of me."
That was probably one of the best things you used to do. Is if there's problems and different things, you find the best out of it.
Yeah, we had lots of fun. I saw some scary stuff out there too, though. But no, I don't want to run you guys too long.
My wife's in bed right now, so I'm good. I got another
perfect
10 hours.
We'll split it into two. Do we have the rapid fire question?
Yeah, so we typically do these for people that have a big racing background. So what I want to throw it out to you is sort of the 5 questions here is it could be your own experience or things you saw at the track. So saw or heard or at parties, different things, different conversations.
I got one for number 1.
So
I don't have a pre-race tradition because do you?
No.
I don't have one. I'll go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
that's probably it.
I got to go pee because I don't want to have to go pee in the middle of qualifying, which, by the way, I hate group qualifying. You got to qualify every car at once. That's where the sponsors get involved.
Exactly.
So skip that. Otto Bohati.
Autobahn.
Love the guy.
Yeah.
Otto had special underwear that he wore. I can't remember what it said on them. They were black and it had yellow writing or whatever. Well, one day I made him pull his pants down. So we're just about ready for the races. And I said, "Does Otto have his lucky underwear on?" He pulled his driver's suit down and showed everybody his underwear. So that was pretty good. That's number 1.
That's
for
number
you.
1. So what's the deal with your number? You've had car
11.
owner number. You had 11. You had 33. You had 36.
Number 11 had won at that time the most championships at Western Speedway.
Okay.
So lots of guys had it.
Yep.
And most recently was Donnie Smith, who I really liked.
Black Assassin.
And feared.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scary guy to interview.
That's my dad crewed.
He's an intimidating son of a bitch.
My dad crewed for Gordy.
Did he?
His,
the Exterminator.
Yep. Yeah.
You gotta write down every
Gordy was
nickname you made and how it came up. You gotta write a book. You could sell it.
Gordy he won a race, and I was like, Gordy, the Exterminator administers another lethal dose of injection in his black Pontiac at a dunk. Some stupid shit, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But whatever. But Donnie was the Black Assassin. He was an intimidating son.
Did you come up with Black Assassin or is it someone else?
Oh, yeah, of course I did, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I was trying to...
Some I don't remember. People are like, "Hey, remember that name you gave me?" I'm like, no.
Nope.
No.
Mine's fairly easy.
Yeah.
You're like, well, your dad's downtown, so...
I think you guys can probably answer this because I talked about it enough today. Car or race that I'd like to compete in.
I wasn't listening.
Canada 200.
200? I was going to say 200.
Yeah.
You actually, well, you said Jeff wanted to, but as an
Yeah,
older you
Jeff
wanted
wanted
to?
I would too, yeah. I think if any race you ever run it... and I was never interested in driving the sprint car. Every car I had, the boys wanted me to drive it, and I think I never did. I never drove... after my very first 11 car, I never drove any of the cars. Number 1, the guys were too small. I couldn't fit.
Yeah.
I couldn't, Jeff, I went to bring the sportsman car in from the parking lot once, and I had to sit in it sideways. And I stalled it about 11 times because I couldn't get my knee up under the...
Yeah.
Jeff was smaller then.
Yes,
Jeff.
Yeah, there's a photo I saw of him when he... Full head of hair, and he was all the size of Cole.
We won't go there.
No, we'll edit this part out. Sorry, Jeff.
Best spotter or crew member comment.
No, think about this one. I go through any race every time.
I had Brando's radio frequency once because the guys asked me, "Hey, if you see someone, can you tell us?" Because I don't know if they had a spotter problem or what, but they had the 2 cars. I don't know if it was Steve or whatever. They were both running the same race, but I had one of the radios beside me. And I heard what Brandon Carlson said to the guys when they asked him what was wrong with the car. And to hear, I'm so surprised that Brandon had a crew after that. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe how mad and rude he was. So Brandon Carlson wins the What an Asshole award for talking to your crew.
What about...
And I never hear them, so why would I hear them? Why would I ever hear what a crew guy says?
Yeah.
What about the best interview comment?
Best interview comment was Matt Sahlstrom was doing the cordless mic, and we used to run those motorcycles. I can't remember what the enduro,
Supermoto,
Motard, or what. And those guys put on a show. Like when they raced, when we were out here in the mid '90s, late '90s, whatever the heck it was, they put on a wicked show. But one time, this guy crashed hard, and I was like, this guy hurt. He went down into turn one, and he caught the curb, went onto the grass, and then the thing caught, flung him off of the bike, and then he tumbled like about 20 times, and his bike slid out towards the wall. And unbelievably, the guy gets up, and Matt, what are you going to say to a guy? He's like, what was going through your mind? And the guy just, and puts the mic in front of him, and the guy goes, dirt sky, dirt sky, dirt sky. I was like, that's the best comment, best interview ever. You don't even have to say anything else after that. So,
nice.
So that was good. And interviews with people, I had so many funny interviews that, it was great. And then you have those interviews like, you guys know who Too Sexy Bobby Exton is? Bob Exton is one of my favorite people of all time, love him to pieces, but the guy couldn't interview. Great race car driver. At his memorial service after he passed away, I got up and I spoke, and I was like, I don't know how much Bob Exton weighed, but I carried him every interview.
Awesome. Lastly, best track for
there's no best track for after race party because it was at the Haslam's house.
So we got a common thread here. Yeah.
Oh, the Palace, we called it.
Yeah.
There was some crazy parties there. I have a limp from one of their parties. So, a lot of people know about the story. We're all hammered up there. Go figure. And Bullet is passed out, and he's got a rum and coke in his hand. He's like Julian with slick back hair. So he's sitting there, and he wakes up, and he has a drink, and he's like my father. Billy Smith and I are friends since I was 15 years old, so that's how I have a close association with the guys. I said, I'll take you home, Dad. He's like, okay, boy. So Haslam's house has two little steps out of the front door, so I pushed the old man up against the door jamb, and I held him up there, and I bent down to put my shoe on. Why I had my shoes off.
Yeah, don't do that.
Hello?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Keep shoes on and gum boots only.
Had brown socks the next day. Don't know where I got them. So I got the old man leaned up against the door, and he fell on me. And my leg stayed up at the top of the stoop, and he snapped my tib fib off. So it snapped off. So Derek Akerman was who's my cousin actually. He was the ambulance guy at Speedway, and he was still there. I don't even know what time this is.
Why was he still there?
What the hell? There's a whole pile of people there. So they helped me load Bullet in the car. I'm tanked. So I drive Bullet back to his house, and this is how early in the morning, the paper boy helped me carry him up the stairs. So there's a party for you. And it went on so many times at Haslam's. Like, I said to the boys, I was like, Robbie and Michael, we should make shirts and sell them. I survived a Haslam party. You couldn't even park anywhere. Cars would be parked all the way to the Speedway and past the Speedway and halfway up to Millstream Road. There were so many people there. You know, when they ran the Juan de Fuca 150s or whatever the hell the NASCAR Northwest Tour races were, all those people came. It was just bizarre.
Yeah, it's like,
and Angie had so much stuff. You know, there would be like a total buffet going on in there. You could eat, you could drink. Oh man, I shouldn't tell you the story, but Robbie, I passed out in Robbie's bed once, and Robbie and his girlfriend at the time were also there, but that's here nor there. But anyways. Wake up in the morning and I say to Robbie, holy Christ, your cat ran across me and woke me up. Robbie said, I don't have a cat. and I said, I'm pretty sure I saw a long tail going past me. I don't have a cat. So you can guess what it was. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
We probably want to finish on that one.
We'll end on that
That's
one.
unreal.
Awesome. All right. Well,
thanks for having me, you guys. I
This
really
is great.
appreciate it. You guys do a good job, and I know a lot of people enjoy listening to you guys' show. So
awesome.
Thanks to Smartwash and whatever it says on that can.
Yeah,
It
it says Tog Creek, but it's Junction. I don't even care anymore. This is awesome.
On, so.
I appreciate it, Rock. Honestly, like, growing up, it was something where you come out on Saturday to watch the races and listen to you, and I think there's thousands of other people that have similar stories about going to the racetrack, listening to you, and going to Hazzies after. So, thanks very much. I appreciate it.
And one of the reasons, you get that opportunity to have the association with people, and I'm glad that Cole got to have that. And so, he made the best of an opportunity. He wanted to do it. And lots of people asked me why I left, and I said, Cole has the passion to do it, and I don't anymore. So he deserves that chance to meet all these people and have all those experiences and do all these things. So
after
I'm glad
32 years of you doing it,
you do a good job. I'm really proud of you. I am proud of you too. You don't think so, but I am, because I remember that little kid. You got a picture of you, and you're just a little shit. And then I hadn't been to the track for a couple of years, and I was like, is that Cole?
Yeah.
So not to sidetrack the end of this podcast, but it was something, because I was away during your transition of not being there anymore, and I had no confidence in you, because just being like, well, Rocky's got all the knowledge, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, so does
smart
Cole.
kid.
Like, Cole's got all the stats and everything else. This person on this one, this person ran this track, and everything else, and it really built a lot of confidence up. I think he's done an unreal job.
You know how I knew he was going to be good? Just because we were doing a Hornet race one night, and I was trying to relay something about the rules, and he told me. He's like, oh no, this is a banana, and I was like, all right.
It's time to pack us.
You can have it.
Yeah.
There was one time Ronnie J was qualifying. Remember? Do you remember that one?
You can tell it.
And he brought out the yellow 35. I think still had some moss in the top wing. And Rocky let me announce qualifying. Daffodil Cup.
Yeah.
And I think Scotty was quickest, or probably Scotty was quickest.
10-5
Yeah, something like that. And I think Ronnie ran right after Scotty, and he was the last car out. And he did like a 24.50, and I was like, well, that's gotta be a track record somewhere.
Just not here.
And then I came to Hornet on Wednesday, and he's like, Cole, you said one funny thing this weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, that's it. All right.
Okay.
Track record, longest podcast.
Yes.
Listen when we post, feel like posting it again, and big thanks to Cody for Smartwash and whatever cidery you bought.
Junction, Orchard, and Cidery.